Hey guys, welcome to Casual Esports Amateur League. Well, guys, this is it. We are in the penultimate week of the CEAL Season 1, and we are bringing you a Noxian Division Showdown tonight. This is the second to last week of the regular season. Our two teams are Bronze 5 Age and Team Enigma. And before we get into a little bit of these teams, I want to break down the discussion here. We probably only have a minute or two as pro drafts are about to get started, but this being the second to last week of the season, some of these teams are really gearing up for playoffs, and it may be a big deal, but it's kind of less of a deal to Noxus than others because, well, they're only down to 4 teams, and I think only one team has a match next season. I believe it was, well, regular season. So I believe it was Keyboard Cats and Anarchy, two teams that were removed from the league, leaving just 4 left: Enigma, Renegatus, Bronze 5 Age, and Stars United Esports Club. So we're seeing Bronze 5 Age and Enigma play each other tonight. And Cyanite, you were on Team Renegatus. Any inside information or first impressions of these two teams, Bronze 5 Age and Enigma?
Yeah, I mean, they're both really good teams. I mean, the standings say for themselves. I mean, BVA is 8-0. That's kind of nuts. And as well as Enigma is also 5-1, so they're looking pretty strong too. Hoping to win tonight, and they're both really good teams. Cephas, not too sure like the 100% pronunciation, but he's a really, really good player. I know that, and I noticed that BVA has really good jungle pathing. Their jungler seems to know like a lot about where he wants to go all the time. It seems like he's always on top of his game. I know that when we played him, that was something we struggled with. They really just kind of beat us down with the jungle pressure, and so I'm looking to see that again here tonight if they can do that for Shadow their mid laner as well. So
Yeah. With both these teams, they're fielding mostly the normal rosters. Enigma is going to have a sub in the mid lane, McSwiggan. Normally their mid laner, he's going to be out tonight. Their player Kajwe is going to be substituting in, and he is don't believe he's listed as a sub on the team, but he's going to be subbing from another team. But Bronze 5 Age, they also have a sub in the mid lane, so this is kind of interesting. 2 substitute mid laners, so we'll see how well they adapt with their team. And I imagine it won't be an issue for Bronze 5 Age, as Shadow was actually on the original Bronze 5 Age team, did step to a substitute role this season. And if you're familiar with the Bronze 5 Age from the past few years, they've done a few role swaps. Oni has moved from ADC up to jungle, which I've seen him play that role before. So he's pretty comfortable with that. Like Cyanide mentioned, he has some good pathing in the jungle. He's played both some aggressive and some passive style junglers, so he's got whatever play style his team needs him to step up. But Alston Reztip, he originally played at the jungle but has moved to top. Cephas is the ADC, and again, we're comparing Bronze 5 Age to their previous iteration. So then Psychopez, of course, their rock solid support down in the bot lane. With Enigma, it is Hayares in the top lane, AJTL33 in the jungle, McSwiggan out in mid lane. It is Kajwe in, Ace in the crowd as their ADC, and Monumental Kill at support. Cyanide, who are you looking to from each of these teams to step up and really have an impact on this series tonight? Which one of these players?
For BVA, looking like the favorites as they are undefeated, I'm really looking towards Shadow stepping up here. He's got a very strong Orianna, as well as he can pull out the Zillion, and he's got an 80% win rate on Vel'Koz as well, so that's not to be overlooked at all. Orianna is a game changer. Any team with an Orianna, I mean, one ultimate, that's a team fight win, but it could also be a team fight loss if either you don't get that off or you miss it or something like that. Because once you miss an Orianna ult, it's kind of like a trigger for the other team just to engage, because then that's a big thing gone. And for Enigma, Enigma, I'm looking towards their ADC. I think if they're gonna win this game, it's gotta revolve around the ADC. I think their jungle has to play towards bot side, because ADC is in a spot right now. It just got buffed a little bit, and it's looking really strong. I see on Ace. Ace in the crowd. He has a very good Caitlyn, but he's also extremely good on Misfortune. and he can also pull out a Vayne. So Vayne is an ADC that can 1v5. If
Yeah.
Vayne gets ahead with Guinsoo's and Bork, I mean, there's really no stopping her. Give her a little bit of peel, and that's all you need for her to 1v5 the game with some good mechanic.
Yeah, you
Play.
could bring up a good point, Ace in the crowd playing these more aggressive ADC style picks. He's played Caitlyn 3 times so far this split, and the other pick was Tristana. Whereas if you look over to Bronze 5 Age, despite the strength of their AD carry, actually Cephas leading the team in KDA by a pretty wide margin. He's gone more towards the scaling late game safe picks in lane. Sivir, we've seen that a few times from him, as well as the Ezreal. So these two different playstyles from the ADC could impact the draft that we see here today. But both ADCs played a very high caliber. Ace in the crowd, as Cyanite mentioned, and Cephas definitely having carried his team in the past. And I wanted to drop back to the mid lane point that you made about Shadow. It's actually, as I was talking about, Shadow's going to be a very easy to integrate into this Bronze 5 Age roster, who's played without him all split. And also, not only due to the fact that he'd been playing for the team previously, but the champion pool similarities between him and their original mid, the Prophet, are pretty stark. You see both of these players like to play control mages. Cyanide mentioned the Orianna that Shadow will bring to the table. Azir, Silas, Twisted Fate, Syndra are some of the Prophet's bigger champions. And we've heard that Shadow will play a Vel'Koz. He'll play the Syndra as well. So the champion pool that Shadow's able to bring to the table kind of fills out what Bronze 5 Age already have going for them. And not to mention the strong carry potential in the bot lane. And a team dynamic that's been built over quite a few years. So Bronze 5 Age definitely looking like favorites in this one, as Cyanite mentioned, simply due to their overall record. Now, I do want to take a closer look at the standings because, as we mentioned through Noxus, it's a little bit different than the other divisions in that we've had to see a few teams go. And so we dropped from 6 teams in the league to 4. And so with Keyboard Cats and Anarchy gone, every team that was scheduled to play against them was granted a free 2-0 in that match score. So we kind of have to look at the Noxian division standings with a little bit more of a magnifying glass. And as Bronze 5 Age, their record is 8-0 overall. So we'll need to deduct the 4 wins they got off Keyboard Cats and Anarchy. And if we do that for each team, we'll kind of get their pertinent record as it pertains to the other 3 teams that are still remaining in the league. So with that math done, Bronze 5 Age would be at 4-0 against the rest of the teams still in the league. Renegatus, your team, Cyanite, would be 2-4, and I think you guys have finished your games next week. You're scheduled to play one of the teams that has already left. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Okay. And then Enigma at 5-1 in the standings, but they would actually be 1-1 since they've already been assigned their 4 wins for those 2 teams. So Enigma, kind of truly the Enigma of this division, having played fewer games than any of the other teams. So they're scheduled for Bronze 5 Age this week, and they're scheduled for Stars United Esports Club next week, which will actually be a pretty big series for playoff implications depending on how this one goes. And we'll talk about that maybe a little further in the cast. And then, of course, Stars United at 5-3, meaning they're 1-3 without those 4 wins assigned. So, question I want to come to you as we still have not started the draft yet. How big of a deal do you think it is that the playoff bracket is set in a double elimination? With all 4 teams that are currently in going to be able to make it to playoffs, there seems like there would be a little bit less urgency for these teams coming to the later weeks of the split. Is that kind of the case with the mentality of some of these players? Or how would you speak to that as one of the players on one of these teams?
I think that's a very fair assumption to make. I know for us, we're not treating it any differently. We're still scrimming, we're still practicing a lot, and we're still like treating it as if every game matters because like you said, a 2-4 record. That's not really what you aim for when you start out on a season. It's not great by any means, but it's how it's worked out, and I know we're gonna work hard and get back to that. But like you said, a double elimination, it may promote, oh, we're gonna make it into playoffs anyway, so maybe not try as much, but I don't think that's the right attitude at all. I think people should really be trying because it's important now more than ever. Now that you do have that leniency to try out new picks, maybe try out like a different meta you saw in like a Korean meta or something like that.
Yeah.
See if something sticks, on the stage, in quotations, because normals is one thing, scrims is another, but when you actually play against another team that means something for a win and loss column, nerves are higher. It's a little anxious. Stakes are higher, so
Yeah.
everyone gets a little nervous, and I think it's important to try these things out. So when you go into playoffs, maybe you can pull out something new that no one's seen before and catch them off guard, and there you go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the mentality factor going into playoffs, coming off of wins or losses, is a big deal. Because if you, like you said, you don't want to be taking those last games with a bit more of a casual approach, because going into playoffs, you're going to want to be riding that momentum high after a couple of wins. But speaking of which, we're headed into the draft first. Bronze 5 Age taking the blue side will ban first and pick first, and they've elected to take the Morgana away from Enigma to start off this draft.
For sure. And a Morgana ban, we do see a very high priority ban. At least I've seen him in my solo queue games in the few scrims we've played. Because Morgana, that black shield, oh, it is so
Yes.
tough to play against. You can't throw anything at her or her teammates. It's horrible. It's the
Yeah.
worst. And you gotta respect the stun too. With the new rework, she feels so much stronger. So much stronger.
Yeah. So you're seeing Enigma drop their first 2 bans, and this is not an accident. Enigma did have to use a substitute of significantly higher rank in the mid lane. We talked about McSwiggan out and Kajwe in, so they actually lost 2 bans off of that. So they won't be banning their first 2 here. They'll have a third ban. We can surmise what that might be. Bronze 5 Age, they might throw a Vi ban at Noxian. He has played that a few times. They could throw a Sivir ban if they want to poke a little bit at a team fight composition of Bronze 5 Age. But if we look towards their side, it's the Jinx in response. And targeting that ADC pool from Ace in the Crowd, like you mentioned, his ability to play some long-range ADCs to much success. Bronze 5 Age are going to pick at that a little bit. And the Cho'Gath, the final ban, that's going to be aimed towards Hyaris in the top lane. He's been in this league for a little bit, and he's played that Cho'Gath. We've seen him break that out quite a few times, pretty good on that. So draft will round out with this Enigma ban. We'll see what they take away. And it is that Vi, like we talked about. So comfort pick from Oninoka, not going to be on that aggressive jungler here this game. So Bronze 5 Age, let's see where their priority is. I expect to be an ADC. Caitlyn. This is a takeaway, I think.
Wow. Yeah. That's big. Caitlyn, with that range, is deadly. Absolutely deadly. I mean, she's so tough to play against. My ADC style is I like to play, shorter range ADCs. So Caitlyn is my worst nightmare. So I think Ace is going to have to pull out something maybe longer range. I was going to say the Caitlyn. That's been picked away. I was going to say the Jinx. That's been banned away. I don't know. We might. I can't say. Maybe. I don't know, maybe a Jhin or something like that. But
so it is going to be the Misfortune lock here for Enigma. They have locked that in. I imagine that they'll go with either a support or jungler. No reason to pick a solo laner this early, unless I don't think that they have a super high priority on one or the other. Mid lane champion pool is very different between these two guys, so there's no real takeaway that you need there from Enigma. Same with top lane. So I think we'll see a support here, and it is going to be that Blitzcrank. Power early game lane here. Misfortune not regarded as one of the most dominant laners due to her auto attack range, but the ability with the double up can catch some champions by surprise as she's able to bounce it off a minion. So then with the additional threat of Blitzcrank, Enigma's got their bot lane set up, and Bronze 5 Age will counter with Alistar. So talk about this bot lane matchup, as we have it laid out in the beginning of the draft here for me.
I mean, it's a little ironic considering BVA banned away the Morgana, and Enigma is like, "Hey, you banned away my Morgana, I'm gonna take the Blitzcrank." It's like, "Where's your black shield? I don't know." So yeah, Caitlyn's gonna have to watch out for that.
Yeah.
I'm almost thinking that BVA actually wanted to go Blitzcrank or a Thresh, because a Caitlyn and a Blitzcrank is a very strong duo.
Yeah.
But Alistar's just as good. Alistar in the early pressure, you get in that bush. I mean, WQ, and that's a great in, and Caitlyn can maybe follow up with that with a trap. So good kill potential.
So let's catch up on this draft a little bit. Bronze 5 Age used the Caitlyn as a takeaway pick from Ace, but they switched things up a little bit. Alistar, Dr. Mundo for their second lock, very much back towards comfort champions. Psychopez has played a ton of Alistar. Dr. Mundo is a staple Bronze 5 Age pick. Even when Cephas was on the team, that was one of his best champions. And now even when Alston Restip's on the team, this is one of his big champions, and he has played it a couple times before. So Xin Zhao is actually the lock for Enigma. That's going to be going to their jungler, AJ, and he has played this before, I believe. I think it is one of his only, if not his only pick so far this season for this team. Enigma, doesn't look like they banned their second
Yeah.
round ban. I think they should have. I think this might be a draft mistake, but we'll catch up with that later and see if there's anything that needs to be done about that. I think they just missed the ban, whether they missed it intentionally or not. But
Yeah, I think the Xin Zhao I think is a strong pick. However, from Enigma, I'm not seeing a lot of tank killers. They did BVA already drafted an Alistar and a Dr. Mundo, so you're gonna need somebody to take chunks out of those HP bars. But Misfortune and Xin Zhao don't really strike me as two champions that can do that. But I'm looking forward to see who their next two picks are. Maybe they can counteract that.
yeah, so Katarina, definitely probably one of Shadow's calls to ban that away. It can be hard to play against for control mage players. When I played mid lane, I predominantly played control mages, and Katarina can be quite difficult to maneuver around, especially good ones. So don't want any part of that Katarina. And then the Malphite ban for the top lane, I think kind of interesting there. Don't really want to go tank on tank in that specific matchup. The Nunu ban also aimed at Alston Restip, or not sorry, Alston Restip, Oninoken, as Nunu was the other champion besides Vi that he had played before. So Enigma do actually get the leisure of being able to possibly counterpick both top and mid. So Swain is going to be picked as a flex. Any idea where that's going to be going if we lean towards top or mid for that one?
It's tough to say. I want to see BVA picks mid. I think a swing into a Dr. Mundo is not a bad matchup. I think with the range, you can really do some damage on Swain. However, I think Swain as a mid laner is just so good. I think the Swain mid is very meta right now, and it maybe not played as much as I think it should be. I think it's extremely strong. I expect this to be mid, but we will see. I'm surprised Enigma didn't give any counter or any bans towards Shadow with that misban and then a Nunu.
Yeah.
Might have liked to see an Orianna ban.
So there you called it. Not a big surprise for Bronze 5H defaulting to a team fight composition. And Mumu probably the third most comfortable pick for Oninoken here, and then Shadow's Orianna, of course, was buffed on the new patch, which I'm sure you guys have studied exhaustively, it being the Worlds patch and all, and we have Worlds in check my watch about 10 hours from now. So Orianna, big pick right now, and so I think Shadow's going to be happy to get himself the one. But let's talk about this Vayne here that's locked in. So Misfortune. So one of these two ADCs has to be mid, right? Because the Misfortune wouldn't drop to support because Blitzcrank has to be support. So it's Swain or Vayne top, actually.
Could
yeah.
be Vayne top.
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about that more.
Vayne top.
So let's talk about why this is good. We're talking about the specific matchup into Dr. Mundo, and as we're going to have a few minutes to get into the client draft and the spectator delay after that, we should have a few minutes to discuss this draft. But Vayne in the individual 1v1 is, of course, why Enigma have selected this. Her ability to quickly build into an Executioner's Calling to reduce that healing, stay at range, dodge cleavers with the tumble. I mean, there's quite a few advantages that Vayne can garner in the 1v1. Any others that you can think of?
I just want to say that I love that pick. That is my favorite pick I've seen this draft by far. I think a Vayne into a Dr. Mundo is a great counter. I was talking about how I look at Enigma's team and I don't see tank killers. I don't see people who can chunk Alistar and Dr. Mundo and now Mumu as well. Vayne is exactly that. With those silver bolts, you do damage. Like, it is incredible. And so I think Mundo will never be able to kill you as a Vayne. Like, theoretically, you can just condemn Dr. Mundo away if he gets close, if he runs up on you, and you can kite him using mechanical skills. So I think that's a very strong pick for Enigma. Very strong.
One more thing that helps this composition that actually makes this Vayne pick. Vayne top is more of a solo queue pick that we've seen, and we really haven't seen him much in any kind of competitive play whatsoever because it's difficult to mesh that pick with a team. You need your source of engage, tankiness, sustain, frontline damage, backline damage. There's a lot of boxes you have to check when setting up a good team composition in League of Legends, and Vayne top really seems to kind of disable you from checking those boxes. And so one thing I like from Enigma is the Swain mid, and I think this really plays towards the pick potential they have with the Blitzcrank, with the I think it's the Nether Grasp, Swain's E, the ability, and also his tankiness when he's charging in there with his ultimate kind of distracts from the threat of the Vayne. Normally, when you have a very squishy composition, the enemy team can just engage on whoever you like. But the Swain pick kind of makes this Vayne a little bit more able to do Vayne things, so to speak.
For
what do you think?
Sure. I think those are really good points. And I look at Enigma's team and I see very high potential for getting picks like you mentioned. I mean, you get a Swain Q. I'm not sure what the ability is named, but it is like that pull and then root for a little bit. And then into like a Blitzcrank, Rocket Grab, and then Zinzao with his knock up and a Misfortune ultimate to follow all that up. I mean, that is an extremely solid team fighting comps. I think we're seeing two really good comps that can really go all in on team fights, and this is going to be a really good match. I'm excited to see how this one plays out for sure.
Yeah. So let's still talk a little bit about. All right, getting a word from production on Swain's abilities. Just listed them off to me, and I've already forgotten them. So as we go into game, we'll see how many of those I'm able to lay off. I did play Swain for a little bit, little point in time. But let's jump into Bronze 5 Age's composition. We discussed kind of Enigma's tools to success in this game, but Bronze 5 Age, and I don't know if you've watched much of them this split or in past split, but this seems like a common recipe for success with this team, going with a team fight round and composition.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is BVA, is it not? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, just team fight. It's kind of like old TSM. I mean, not old. I guess it's still current. I mean, they're still really into team fighting. But if you think of like TSM and the LCS, I mean, you're thinking team fighting. You're thinking scale up and team fight. I mean, you look down BVA's comp, you see a Caitlyn, you see an Alistar, you see an Orianna, an Amumu, and a Dr. Mundo.
Yeah.
All of those champions scale.
Yeah.
All of those champions will get big, beefy, and do a lot of damage. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really good for BVA.
Mm-hmm. And one thing we can sometimes be concerned about when looking at this composition, and maybe this is where the Orianna buffs come into play, is if Caitlyn's not in a great position for these team fights, it's hard to imagine how she'll be able to output a whole ton of damage. Or if, I guess if she's behind, it's hard for her to do damage in a team fight oriented composition. But I think Shadow's ability to maneuver this Orianna, let's talk about the Orianna buffs a little bit. If you aren't familiar with them, her Shockwave did get a damage boost as well as an AP scaling boost. So some of those early fights in the river, level 6 ultimate power spike, even if Shadow's not completed his first items, he's actually able to do quite a bit of damage and sway those early game, Dragon or Rift Herald fights that we might see where Orianna would be a little bit weaker pre-buff. She's going to be stronger here now. So I think Bronze 5 Age have enough damage in this composition to make the fact that they have 3 tanks, not that big of a hindrance. So I think with the power that Cephas has shown in the bot lane, sporting a 10.38 KDA so far this split, I have full faith in him to be able to do his job on this Caitlyn and to output damage in all stages of the game, which is one thing that Caitlyn's really good at doing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm looking at Enigma's comp, right? And I do like a Swain into an Orianna, where BVA's comp is weaker early. I think for sure. None of them, like, because you're not tanky yet. The Mundo, the Alistar, the Amumu, they're not tanky. Caitlyn hasn't had her crit items yet, and Orianna's like notoriously been a really weak early game champion with, she uses a lot of mana, so early game you don't have an excess in mana. Whereas Enigma, I'm really looking at them. If they want to win this game, their win condition is to take control of that early game.
Yes.
Blitzcrank pulls, Misfortune Qs, those do a lot of damage early game, and especially after even half an item of damage. Xin Zhao with his early gank potential, Swain with his abilities, you can combo those up and really get at least Orianna extremely low. Vayne, not necessarily the best early game champion, but I think that top lane is definitely that scaling lane. I think this win conditions on the Vayne and this win conditions on the Swain for Enigma. And for BVA, I'm looking at that Orianna. I need her to stay safe. I need her to stay safe. That's her number one priority, because if you get ganked and fall behind early, and those shields from Orianna's E don't do a lot, and they're kind of, you're not that, second support almost, like I feel like Orianna's are with the speed boost, with the shield, and with the zoning potential. You kind of fall out of priority for team fighting. Like Enigma, they don't really have to worry about an Orianna anymore if she falls behind. So
Yeah. Your point about Enigma needing to take control of the early game, I think, is very good. If you're thinking of Bronze 5 Age and their 2 carriers, Orianna and Caitlyn, more than most other carries, these two, you're looking at big item power spikes for them to become useful in the game. Caitlyn and Orianna scale into the late game much better than they output damage in the mid game. So throw in his early game jungler like Zin's out there and kind of an off-pick support like Blitzcrank to kind of mess up that scaling and their comfortability in hitting those later game power spikes. And then you have an Enigma team that can actually battle Bronze 5H in the early game and throw these carries out of comfort. And if you can set them behind, I think you have the tools to take down Bronze 5H. So as we're loading into the screen and taking a look at some of these keystones here, cards on the table, who do you think is going to be taking game one here based on the drafts we've seen so far?
I don't want to place bets yet, but
okay,
if this goes late, I think BVA's got this down.
yeah,
But if Enigma can get a few early kills with the Blitzcrank and the Xin Zhao, I think we might be looking at least some early game control from an Enigma that can really set BVA behind late, and that gives them about like a 25-minute window to win the game. I think if they can get early Dragon control, I think Dragon control is going to be huge. Then they can really do some damage in this game. If they get the first 2 Infernals, maybe, then that helps them for late game where they may be falling off. Really, they're not falling off because the 2 Infernals will really help them.
yeah,
You know, that's a little to the RNG side of things, but you know, I'm hoping for that if I'm Enigma.
yeah. I'm going to trust in Bronze 5H's communication and ability to rally around the right objectives and take smart fights. It's sometimes difficult for a late game team to get there. If the game kind of falls apart for them, communication will start to break down. But I think these guys have played together long enough and know how to communicate and back off when needed and go aggressive when needed to take smart fights. We'll pause our conversation here. So we do have an invade coming out from Enigma here on the red side. Bronze 5H, great ward placed there, and the Tribush are going to spot this out. And also, I want to draw your attention to the ward just up north of us in the Pixel Brush by the Dragon Pit. That's going to spot the Enigma retreat if they do so. So the fact that Bronze 5H have not seen anybody walk across that ward gives them knowledge that Enigma are indeed still in that red buff. So great early wards by Bronze 5H. And Enigma, definitely you're going to want to drop some down before you go. Those wards may be long enough, may last long enough to spot Ononoken unless he crosses and does the red invade. So early game, great moves from Bronze 5H.
I mean, for sure. Look how safe the Alistar and the Caitlyn are playing. I mean, that's what you need. That is exactly what you are looking for if you're BVA. You don't want to give up, you know, any early kills. If that means, you know, sacrificing pressure, you know, you're losing a blue buff or red buff. I apologize. You know, whatever. And as you see, they're counter jungling the other team. Enigma's red.
I don't know if Enigma knows that both Ononoken and Alston Restip are here. He may run into trouble in the 1v2. He doesn't really have any help elsewhere. As Ononoken will hit level 2 and turn on him, likely his level Bandage Toss, and now Latin Fire may be in trouble. But Casual is going to move over. Just a reminder for you viewers, Latin Fire is actually Hayares. He had to log on to one of his lower level accounts for this game because his main was unavailable to him. So that is their normal mid lane. This is not a sub. So just him on an alternate accounting.
Yeah, that does set the Vayne behind a little more than probably she'd like. I think that was a very, very smart, intelligent move from PVA to pull off that. And, you know, as you mentioned, I don't think the Vayne had any idea they were there because she just kind of walked up and
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that they will set the Vayne behind just a little bit, but, you know, she will recover. As I said, It is a scaling lane.
So the Vayne doubling down here in the Mundo, and let's talk about this 1v1 a little bit longer, as it is the main unusual lane here in this game. We're likely to see some action from bot lane and elsewhere, but I really want us to notice how much Hayares has doubled down on this lane-focused Vayne. Likely we talked about the early Executioners coming out, but also the Ignite. You've noticed the press the attack, Ignite, the early aggression. She's really focused all in on this lane, shutting down this Mundo. So we'll see if Bronze 5H are able to play this in such a way where they can use no teleport to their advantage. But for now, Enigma really focusing on this early game, like you said, one of their main win conditions.
Yeah, I think a part of the Ignite that's really maybe underutilized, but also a little underrated is the healing debuff it provides.
Ooh, I'll cut you off for a second there as we have a fight in the bot lane. Psychopez with a flash knockup. Onono can get it pulled in. Not so sure that's exactly what he wants to, as he's going to have to flash out. This is well played so far from Enigma's bot lane, as nice pull from Monumental Kill is able to dissuade the gank, and only one summoner burned, the flash from Ace in the Crowd, and three for Bronze 5 Age. It is Oninoken and Psychopez's flash and the Alistar Ignite.
Yeah, you'd almost think that's worth for Enigma. I think
For sure.
it is, because I mean, you got the flash out of Mumu. That's an insane amount of gank potential lost, right? That flash into bandage toss is massive for early game, but as well as the Alistar using both of his summoners, I mean, that's a huge play for Enigma to survive that.
So, and without this flash, as we see a little bit of trading here in the mid lane, not likely a whole lot going to result off of this, but that Amumu has trouble pulling off ganks pre-6 unless he's able to get some good gank setup from his lanes. But now without the flash, if you're on Oninoken, you're probably going to want to hit that level 6 as soon as possible and get that additional CC tool to help you get off high percentage ganks. So I imagine the flash will be up right around level 6 or a little bit afterwards, but I imagine we're going to see him pretty passive in the rest of this early game as his flash is down, the one tool for engage.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. And you look at the warding for Enigma looking extremely good on that top side. Vayne has that whole river warded, so you know she might have some insight that you know Amumu will be top side after the gank bot. So you know, warding up that river, extremely great play. And you know, she's really not going to get surprised by any gank here.
Ooh, bit of a fight here in the bot lane as now Asia is coming in with the Xin Zhao gank. Gonna repeat here. Psychopez, no flash, likely gonna be the target. He's gonna get knocked up from the Xin Zhao, and first blood goes to the Misfortune after Ignite is dropped. And great counter gank by Xin Zhao, knowing that the flash from the Alistar is down. And that's something that I really like from this team. Not always focusing the ADC. Sometimes it's the support that's the higher priority target because of lack of summoners.
There it is. Yeah, I didn't even notice it at first, but there's the first blood going over to Enigma, and that is huge. That's what we were talking about. That early pressure is really just gonna set them ahead, and it is an Infernal Drake. What are the chances if they get that Infernal Drake? That is massive. That is so big. So really looking for that early bot side control from Enigma to really secure that dragon, and that will be huge for them.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed in the top lane, but Hayares, or Latin Fire, was playing very passive, hugging his tri-brush. He smelled something suspicious. Oninoken was indeed up in that top side area. So this is, we see, like you mentioned, the warding that the Vayne had done down in the river. We see a Vayne playing a very smart early game, and I really like this. Sometimes if you're Ignite Vayne, you're going to want to get up on that Mundo's face the whole laning phase, and you can expose yourself to some ganks and deaths that you would not want. So I like the way he's playing. He knows that he's going to be outscaling this Mundo and be able to do Vayne things throughout the entirety of this lane. So he's not going to give it up to some early push that could result in a gank and his death. So I like this smart play from the top laner, Hayares.
Yeah, Hayares is already playing the lane better than me. I'd have 2 deaths by now because you know, I mean,
yeah.
It's so tempting as a Vayne once you get that second silver bolt off. Oh, let me just get that one more. Oh, there's an Amumu behind me in the tri-bush. Whoops, and then you're dead. So he's already playing this better than me with those early wards.
On the other hand, to talk about Alston Restip, how well he's actually farming in this lane, you'd expect in a standard range versus melee matchup that the range champion would be up a little bit. Of course, Hayares did have to sacrifice a few CS to avoid an early death, but Alston Restip being able to farm up his items and likely will build some early armor and health to negate the true damage and that auto attack damage. Likely we'll also see Ninja Tabbies coming in for him fairly early on. But kudos to him, and a shout out for farming really well in the early game despite being in a melee versus ranged matchup.
Yeah, you know, that is really big, you know, because the Mundo, it is important for him to get items early to really negate Vayne's damage. You know, she doesn't have a ton of it early, but, you know, to get tanky, the earlier the better, right? So, I mean, the more CS you can grab, always the better. No kills to his name yet, but, you know, CS really, really effective.
All right, so we talked about the early dragon. You mentioned Infernal was going to be up pretty soon on the board. We see AJ hovering down there a whole lot, looking to make something happen. No Scuttle Crab yet, but we can see eyes from both of these teams are directed towards this Infernal Dragon. And with Shadow having roamed down here, possibly looking to do this early dragon. No TP on the Vayne, as Alston Restip is actually trying to get some space on the top lane to potentially TP, but Bronze 5 Age will back out, and they're focusing the top lane now. Flash burned early, and the ultimate there from Mundo as he will walk out, but nice little roam from AJ to actually I don't know if this was intentional, but maybe Bronze 5H. But now with Blitzcrank gone, they're going to flash in. Psychopez going into the turret, but a hook will kill him. Bring him right under, and the ultimate channel from Misfortune, and that turned from good to very, very bad for Bronze 5H real quick. They thought Blitzcrank was not in the lane, but he showed up right at the right time, grabbed the Alistar, and that'll be the second kill of the game going to this Misfortune.
I mean, you can't fault them for going in on that, though. The MF looked completely just alone, kind of little lost, and just kind of like, you know, I'm free to die. But then Blitzcrank out of nowhere with the pull on the Alistar under tower and gets the kill. Doesn't even trade a kill. MF stays alive, so that's really big. And
oh, here comes the flash, looking for another, and just does not get Cephas on the other end there. As she does 90 caliber net away. So I really like the attempt for Monumental Kill. Having that other bot laner down would mean likely a turret plate and some farm denied, but not quite able to get that one. But still, decent early game advantage here. It is about 1k in the gold, despite the 2 kills going over. Caitlyn farming well in her lane. Shadow just up a few CS, but that mid lane with these 2 mages is 3 CS is pretty negligible. But top lane, Safe is still farming well.
And it is to be noted, look at Bronze 5H's warding on that dragon. They do have a control ward around it and a control ward on the other side and a ward that actually just died off on the other side. It'll be interesting to see if Orianna does renew that one. She doesn't have one up right now, but about in 45 seconds or so she will. So looking if she can renew that one for the dragon control for sure. That's huge.
Yeah, and Bronze 5H know that this is the priority from Enigma. They know that they want to try and secure that early dragon with the Xin Zhao if possible. So I like the focus from their vision down here. AJ's going to walk in and clear one of those guys, but likely Shadow walks over there and replaces it in the dragon pit. So they're trying to keep this vision on this objective at all times. So I think it kind of... I think it very much matters how... this bot lane goes, because whichever laner is able to roam fast, or if there's another kill in the bot lane, we could see a dragon being done off of that. So we've hit the 10-minute mark. Rift Herald has spawned now, but no teams really have their eyes on that as junglers moving down now towards this Rift Scuttle. We may see a fight as the Enigma bot lane is walking up, and Ononoka might be caught here. Gonna do the last of the smite it away, but he's in trouble as he's in a 1v3. Shadow roaming over to help. He does flash out, but gets pulled back in. Monumental Kill on point with these hooks, and this may be the go sign for the dragon for Enigma. They're trying to look for one more kill in the bot lane. Monumental Kill will step on a trap, and it will delay his advances for now. But 4 members here from Enigma, and this could be the dragon for them.
Yeah, Mumu only not doing anything too dangerous or risky there, just clearing out some vision, seeing what's up, but he didn't realize that he didn't have bot prio and mid prio as well, as you know, Enigma was just first to the scene and they were able to help out their jungler before vice versa. So
yeah. And Monumental Kill may be looking for Kill in there. Oh, nice hit, grabs him right out of the 90 caliber net. And ult comes down from Misfortune, immediately cancel, but can the Ignite do it? Not quite, but meanwhile, the return from Psychopez does drop the Ignite. Peacemaker just missing on the other side, as a fight in the mid lane will happen as well. But very close on both sides, as that Peacemaker would have signaled Monumental Kill's death. So close on both sides. Not sure if Misfortune actually canceled that ultimate or it was canceled herself, but that definitely could have been Caitlyn's death. So very close on both sides. But like you were saying, overall, big win for Enigma in that they were able to capture not only one person out to gain the numbers advantage, but it was the jungler. So no chance of a steal from Bronze 5H. And you saw them immediately having to back off once Enigma had sent 4 members down there to start that up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I really liked that pull from Blitzcrank. I mean, that was a really good pull, and you would have liked to see MF keep that ultimate, but I'm sure it was a misplay because that was a for sure kill. But you know, it might have been a trade because Alistar was coming in there, and they almost got the return kill on the Blitzcrank. So maybe even if she stayed, maybe she gets the kill, but maybe she also dies. So maybe it was, you know, calculated, not trying to take too many risks here. He's gonna keep the 2-0 with the 150 gold of shutdown. We
got another fight in the bot lane here as the hook will land onto Cephas, but he's actually, Monumental Kill might be in trouble as well. Both are going very low, but it will be the final attack from Ace as he's able to finish him off. Now Psychopez is in trouble. He's got to run away. Flash is up for him, so likely he'll be able to survive this one as his ult is ticking away, and no more ability for Enigma to look for that second kill, but just the raw damage from this 3-0 Misfortune with the completed Youmuu's Ghostblade is able to outpace this Caitlyn in early game damage. So that's going to be another big lead granted to this bot lane, and possibly a turret plate. I think we've got about 15 seconds left before those wear off, but we'll keep an eye on the mini-map. Well, that's going to be the second turret plate, thanks to Blitzcrank's tower smash ability, maybe even one more. But let's keep our eyes on the top lane, as actually CasualEAL and AJ have wrapped around behind the Bronze 5H members. This is going to be a 3v3, but the Xin is caught. He's going to be bursted immediately. This has turned so good for Bronze 5H. CasualEAL has to flash out of the way. Ononoka giving chase. He does have already used his ultimate. CasualEAL is just going to turn and try and use the stopwatch there, and we'll see how much damage his ult does. Probably not enough to burst any members of Bronze 5H. Does get close on Shadow there, but Bronze 5H immediately, that target focus from these guys to be able to select the Zins out and then the Swain. There was definitely some decisive communication that was existent for Bronze 5H there, and Enigma, although they had a good flank, weren't able to execute the fight.
Yeah, at the start of that, it looked like Enigma really had the jump on him, but the good brush control from the Orion and the Mundo totally caught AJ off guard there. Like, I thought that was a for sure kill, going down onto Oni, I think it was. But then they just turned it right around and said, nope, you're dying today.
Yep. And that's the importance of these big team fight ults, and that's where you see they can get such an advantage over their opponents, because you have a Xin Zhao, a Vayne who couldn't quite make the roam, and a Swain. And if you're able to trigger that Shockwave and the Curse of the Sad Mummy onto one person, not to mention a very large and in charge Mundo rumbling down with Swiftness boots, you can really secure the CC and the kill onto one target. So, and then like I mentioned, the comms from Bronze 5H, the knowledge to be able to turn and focus one target like that, the game sense was going for them in that way. And that's one of the big things that has made Bronze 5H so good in this league. And something we definitely haven't seen the last of from them this game.
Yeah, and someone may be happening bot, but the Xin Zhao was spot out. Looking at a 3-0-1 MF with already the completed Youmuu's, like you said, but also an Executioners already going for that healing reduction onto the Mundo if their paths do cross. And completed boots as well. I mean, the Ace is looking really good in the gold department. Looking to keep their pressure here.
But in the top lane, it looked like Alston was going to initiate there. Did pop the Sadism, I believe that ultimate is called. Maybe it's something else. I can't remember Muno's spells. But did pop that ultimate there. But the Condemn from High Artist was enough to keep him at bay. So
yeah. It is the Sadism, and a relatively short cooldown. Mundo's ultimate doesn't necessarily have the longest cooldown. So it is one of those, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna pop it, and it keeps him alive there, and stifles a Vayne engage.
Bronze 5H grouping around mid here. Looks like they want this Swain. We might see a flash out of Psychopez, but it is the Xin Zhao that goes in. Not sure if he wanted that 2v5 there. Is going to use the ultimate to stave off a lot of damage, but Bronze 5H just have 5 members here, and down goes the Xin Zhao. And we'll see if the Swain can hold the mid lane. Shockwave out for some damage. Blitzcrank has run over. This is going to be a hook. Unfortunately, grabs the minion there with the Caitlyn stalled out. May have had a kill on that one, but they're going to be able to defend their turret here, but it is 1 kill over to Bronze 5H.
Been there, done that. Everybody's played Blitzcrank and hit a minion instead of a champion. I mean, that happens all the time.
He's had his good share of minions, but it looks like Enigma might have strayed too far out, as they maybe get caught out, and that's going to be Shadow picking up the kill onto the Swain after the Caitlyn damage. Ononoka going in, does not have the Curse of the Sad Money, so we won't see any more follow-up from them. Bronze 5H very low. We'll see how Enigma want to pressure. You wouldn't expect them to be taking a 2v4 here, but with the health of the Misfortune at full and her strength at the moment, Bronze 5H, not a lot they can do there. And so this, despite the kills going over to B5A, likely won't be any objectives or follow-up damage. But fight in the top lane, and the action just never stops here. This is going to be pretty close. Austin Resdip does the Ignite on him. There's Vayne, 2 more auto attacks, but not able to get in range for that final Condemn Silver Bolt proc. So top lane fight actually very close, and Alston Resdip with the Stadium still channeling, able to get back to near full health. Or, I'm sorry, near half health. Not even close. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I almost would have liked to see Hyars flash forward onto that Mundo. I mean, the Mundo was extremely low. Could have been 2 more autos, but the cleaver hitting
Yeah.
at that last second really just totally slowed her down and didn't give her the chance.
Yeah, there's a chance he could have secured the kill with that flash, but it would have to been a pretty perfect combo. Ooh, Psychopath's not able to land the Pulverize there, as it is going to be the flash, though, from Monumental Kill, and Bronze 5 Age will definitely back out, having burned a Summoner from the Blitzcrank. But yeah, like you were saying, he might have been able to secure that kill with the flash, but it would have had to been a quick flash into auto and then tumble reset on the auto. So unless you're able to get that execution on the auto reset perfectly, it's unlikely that you'll be able to convert even with the flash. So smart of him not to use that there. Ooh, Ace in the crowd. Dangerous pathing there. As Enigma may be looking to fight. Blitzcrank kind of walking through. Xin Zhao going right in. Will get knocked up in the air. Does use the ultimate to save off the damage for now. Fights on both sides. The AoE. Onunoken goes in. He will be taking out 2 kills now over to Enigma. They're winning this fight big. Psychopath's very low. Going to heal out with the Ignite, and the double up from Ace in the crowd is able to snipe him on the backside. Huge damage from this misfortune, and a 3 for 0 in favor of Enigma. They'll push onto this mid turret right away.
Amazing. At first, I thought Enigma bit off more than they could chew. The Xin Zhao or not flashing in, but going in once again into a 1v4, it looked like. But able to stay alive, and Enigma pulled that one through. A couple more, or at least 1 more kill onto the MF and 2 more assists. Gives her a 500 gold shutdown, which I'm looking if I'm BVA and saying, yeah, I want that, because 550 gold now on the shutdown is definitely a hefty takeaway.
And that's the value. Ooh, Psychopath's getting caught out there. Nice little hook from Monumental Kill. Kajue is able to pick him off with the very end there. Yeah, like you were saying, that shows the value of the Xin Zhao in that team fight. It's very hard for a lot of Xin Zhaos to execute that. Some of the Xin players may find themselves irrelevant in team fights, but that just shows the value of the Xin Zhao ultimate. They kind of traded engages. Enigma had sent their Xin Zhao into the enemy team of Bronze 5H, while Bronze 5H had sent their Amumu to the enemy team. And so Amumu is able to be damaged, but of course Xin Zhao will pop in, ult was not. So he was able to stall for a very long time, despite not being tanky for his team, and able Enigma to win that team fight. So
maybe top lane?
Pretty tricky. Yeah. So let's take a stock of some of the inventory while we have a bit of a break, although with Bronze 5H games, as we need many times. Ooh, nice dodge on the bandage toss there. Ace in the crowd, in a bit of trouble, have to walk out of there. Nice little juke on the Amumu bandage toss. But Bronze 5H are going to double down here on top lane as they have all 5 members, maybe looking to make a Herald play off of this. We'll see how Enigma react. They are going to give up that turret as they just don't have the members in the right place. And oh yeah, Herald went to Baron a while ago. Ha! Did not see that. Interesting that Austin Restep has chosen to go with the Swifties over the Ninja Tabbies. Yeah, this kind of speaks to his desire to fight in these team fights a little bit more than him wanting to play the 1v1 in the side lane. But we've got a bit of a gank here from AJ. Swain not going to be able to find much damage there, and Mundo will walk off clean. But yeah, this kind of speaks to Bronze 5H's intentions for this game as a whole. They're not looking to set Austin Restep up in the side lane to 1v1 the Vayne. They're looking to actually run down Enigma in the team fights and land the crucial CC required to take out their carries. So it's kind of maybe partially why Austin Restep is going Swifties here, but maybe I'm reading into it a little bit much. Blitzcrank. Yep. But Blitzcrank, not having bought the sweeper yet, we'll need to get that on him if he's able to control the vision, which becomes very important as we transition into the mid game, because if Bronze 5H is able to set up a really strong team fight in their favor, they're going to be able to turn this game on a dime with the composition they have. So Enigma, it becomes important more now than ever to establish his vision control. So I'd like to see the Blitzcrank grab a sweeper, just like his jungler, and start sweeping out those wards, and a pick almost onto AJ. Nice flash. Very smart for him to get out of that shockwave, but still maybe caught out of position a little bit there. Almost a kill for Bronze 5H. Ooh,
Yeah.
man, the inaction never stops. Ononoken wrapping around from the backside. Is he in range of the Curse of the Sand Mummy? He is. Does lock down both of them. Shadow follows up with the damage, but it is so close on both sides. The Xin Zhao ultimate takes so much. Latin Fire turning things on the backside, and here comes the Vayne. Flashes forward over Shadow. Takes him out for the double kill. Bot lane, a fight is happening as well as Kajue. He might be in trouble here to this Mundo. A lot of sustaining healing from him as it comes down to the wire. Pops the ultimate, but fights on both sides. 2 going to Enigma in the mid lane. This Vayne popping off with a double kill. Bronze 5H getting one back on the Mundo in the bot lane. Man, we got a lot of action to break down.
Wow, and a quick check. Now with this turret falling, Enigma has gotten a few turrets, 2 down mid lane into the inhib turret, 1 on bot, 1 on top, and BVH just has the 1 in mid and the 1 in top. A 2 turret advantage, turning into a 4.6k gold lead for Enigma, which is big. As I said, that early game, closing in on their peak performance right now. They really need to be winning these stages of the game if they want to win this game.
Shout out to the Xin Zhao. This is one of the best Xin Zhaos I've ever seen played in league play. He's absolutely doing his job, utilizing his ult to the full potential. And even though he's not like hard carrying with some full damage build, he is absolutely being the initiator and damage soaker this team needs. So shout out to him. Once they get the Swain online with his second item, these guys will actually maybe able to hold their own in a team fight, despite Bronze 5H having a full team fight comp.
Yeah, and you're looking at the Xin Zhao and you look at his score and you're like, but then you look at his play and you're like, yeah, because he's been playing really good despite the score line, giving over his red to Vayne, realizing the power difference and realizing that, the Vayne's going to do a lot more with that red buff. Just a great teammate overall. This game's going really well for him.
So Ocean Dragon coming up here in a couple of minutes. Likely this won't have the same priority for these teams as maybe a Infernal or a Mountain would, but nevertheless, Enigma definitely wanting to secure this dragon if it presents itself an opportunity. So the lane assignments kind of, we've seen the Swain into the Mundo develop for Enigma. They've wanted to send, his Ace steps a little bit far into the jungle, could have been caught there. His team was there to back him up, but we may see a fight around this red is, he wanted to steal that, but Bronze 5H going to secure that onto Cephas, so that's definitely a good pickup for them. And we'll see if Bronze 5H look to fight around this dragon.
I want to pull this.
Yeah, Ononoken looking for it over the wall. Does go over the wall. Big flash. Curse of the Sand Mummy onto 3, and that'll start off the fight. Unfortunately, he is isolated, so Ace in the crowd maybe to take him down, but the ultimate gets immediately canceled. No deaths on either side. Latin Fire going to have to kite this one out, as now Alston res up. Shockwave does land on the 2. AJ going to pop that ultimate. This is going down to the wire. Nobody's died yet, but here come the casualties on both sides. 2 for each. Bronze 5H are going to be up in this fight. Cephas kiting by his own in the backside is going to take down the enemy AD carry. It is a 4 for 3 overall, barely in favor of Enigma, as Psychopez squeaks out with just a tiny bit of health bars. Kajue not able to find it with the Nether Grasp or whatever that spell is called, but holy cow, what a close fight. It's insane how long it took for those deaths to come in.
Oh my gosh. What a fight. At the start of that, the movement went in, I'm like, oh, that's not going to go well. And then he flashed out and dodges everything. And it's like, oh my gosh. Because there were 4 stunned on the side of Enigma, but they survived for at least a little longer, kind of back off a little bit, then find an opening. And then the Orianna ult coming in almost looks like they're going to turn it again. But then Enigma's like, nah, you ain't turning this on us. We turn it on you. And then they just clean up.
One of the really tricky things about that fight is actually it was both ADCs that were near the enemy team. You'll notice Ace in the crowd followed up to get that Amumu kill, and then immediately got targeted by a lot of Bronze 5H. Meanwhile, though, Cephas, if you noticed, was in the back line of Enigma, actually went over the wall, and so they had spent so much time trying to catch him, and he eventually actually came back over the wall and picked up a kill onto the enemy ADC. But it was kind of crazy how both ADCs were actually distracting the enemy teams, and so nobody really was able to pick up any kills early on, and everything kind of just came to a head with Enigma taking the lead in that fight. It was very close. I think it was overall a 4 for 3. So crazy to see them hold their own in these team fights, despite being against an Orianna. But that just shows the early game lead that they garnered here is actually playing big dividends here in the mid game.
Yeah, I saw the Caitlyn coming in from above them, and I had to take a second and really look at what champion it was, because why was there a Caitlyn on the other side of her team? And then, and then next thing you know, she's got 2 kills, or a kill. So You know, oh,
Ooh, Ace in the crowd running down Shadow. He might be caught out. Shockwave is not going to be able to save him as Ace steps up and puts the last bullet into the Orianna, and that'll be a nice little pick for Enigma. We'll see what they do with it here. Not sure if they want to turn onto this Baron yet at this moment in time. They might have to clear out a little bit of vision first. As you see that ward near the other wall is actually going to spot these members, and if they don't clear it out, Bronze 5H will know exactly what Enigma is up to.
Yeah, I think they already know something's up with the movement, but the Swainstang bot does have TP, so is able to come in. I'd like to see a ward from Enigma in a safer spot, because I think that Pixel Brush ward is a little too dangerous for the Swain to TP into, as well as the Baron Pit. So maybe the safest ward they have right now is in that I think is that in the what bush do you even call that top lane bush? Not sure what the exact name for it is.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Krug bush, something like that. Whatever the case may be. But yeah, Insignia, or not Insignia, what did I say Insignia? Enigma not being able to commit onto that Baron. Shadow was down, but he did have his TP, and I think was up in 10 seconds at about the time the decision had to be made. So with the TPs that Bronze 5H do have, does put some pressure on the map, enough to make Enigma not opt to go for the Baron there. So despite having an unfortunate 80 carry, they do have that Vayne damage on Baron, which is pretty formidable. Same with the Xin Zhao. So they would have a reasonably quick Baron, but definitely don't want to challenge a team fight composition like Bronze 5H, especially being grouped on a Baron pit. So
yeah, and looking at the items for BVA, maybe something happens here.
Ooh, Psychopath's going in. We have Ononoken flanking it on the backside. He's going to try and get him for Big Ult, but it's taken very low himself, and this might be him caught out. He is going to go down. This is 1 for 0 so far. Condemned does land onto the Alistar. We're looking for the Orianna damage from the side. Does not land the Shockwave onto multiple members, and so Bronze 5H having to disengage, losing both their jungler and support. Big picks for Enigma.
Get on the wall, says Vayne, and Alistar is condemned and stunned, and now see ya in 20 seconds, apparently, because the Alistar stepped maybe a little too far forward along with the Amumu. I thought they could have won that. Maybe Mundo could have TP'd in, but I think they realized that it was kind of not their fight to take, and, you know, Mundo may trade for a bot tower here. Let's see if he gets it before they join. Yeah,
there was a very in-depth play that Bronze 5H tried to execute, and something I haven't seen too much from them is very difficult to execute. That kind of, you have a flank, Amumu coming from one side, Alistar coming from the other, Mundo TPing in. It's really difficult to pull that off. And so you saw them being kind of disjointed in their engage efforts, and thus Enigma were able to isolate each one of the engaged members and take them down individually. It was the Mumu first and the Alistar second. Dr. Mundo didn't even get to make his way into the fight. So I saw exactly what Bronze 5H were trying to do, and had they all been on the same page with the exact same engaged timings, I think they would have pulled that one off, but it just wasn't to be.
Yeah, I really want to praise the communication and map control that Enigma is possessing. I mean, that's 4 dragons now, exactly to the T what I pointed out before this game started, that if they want to win this game, they need those early dragons, they need that early map pressure, and they have done exactly that, and it's paying off.
Oh, catch on to Caitlyn here. CasualEAL laying down some big damage. Cephas barely able to squeak out of there. The Xin Zhao lands, does not quite take him down. Ace in the hole coming back onto AJ, but is tanked by his team, and this Caitlyn will have to back out. Very lucky that she survived there. Very cool, and Collected didn't use a single summoner, so very impressive, calculated, one might say. But Enigma pushing down here with Baron buff, pull into Mundo, he'll have to pop ultimate. So you can see the threat of this pick composition every time Swain lands a spell. Oh, nice hook onto the Mundo, is actually able to walk out of there without taking too much follow-up, and Bronze 5H will stave off this push at the inhibitor turret, but do lose their last outer.
Yeah, and you don't want to get too comfortable if you're Enigma, because you can't put disrespect on BVA's name. They will just run over you if you give them the chance. I mean, one pick from the Orianna ult or the Alistar QW or WQ combo.
Yeah. Oh, pick onto Orianna. Here we go. There's the Misfortune ult, channeled to full effect. Psychopath will go in to interrupt it, but it's already 1 for 0. Nice big ultimate for the Mumu. Lands onto 3 people. He's going to go back in himself, but this is all Enigma. Misfortune staying alive in that backline, able to take tons of damage. Alston Restep now in trouble as Monumental Kill flashes forward to go aggressive. Here comes the Vayne tumble. Flashes and takes the kill. and that will be Enigma in a 4-for-0 fight. Ace in the hole going to be blocked there by AJ, as Enigma will push in for the turrets, and with only Cephas left standing, this might be game one.
They're going for the win.
And the hook will land onto him.
There it is. That's the ace.
Fitting that this would end on a blitzcrank hook, as he has been omnipresent for this team, and secures Enigma a game one win over Bronze 5H. That was big. We talked about the early game power that Enigma had. They executed, they delivered, and they will go to game two with a 1-0 lead.
They had a very, I don't want to say slim, but I don't think they had a huge win condition. But they took that win condition and they absolutely used that to their advantage, and they won that game because they got the early map pressure, they got the early dragons, they got the early kills from the early ganking jungler, and the pick potential from the blitzcrank in the bot lane. And that's what happens when you execute that kind of comp. That was a great game played from Enigma.
Yeah. So now that game one is over, and actually Enigma have taken this one, let's quickly discuss some playoff implications for these guys. We've talked about how there's only 4 teams left, and the brackets for playoffs will end in a double elimination. So each team will have one chance to redeem themselves after a loss in playoffs. But how that will form is the first seed will play the 4th seed in the first round. Second will play third, and then we'll have a separate losers bracket and a separate winners bracket, and so on and so forth. But so Bronze 5Age with an 8-0 record have secured either first or second. The only way they can drop out of first is if Enigma 2-0s them here. And as I pull up the standings here, Enigma actually could slot into, they could even go a tie for last, or they could try and take first place from Bronze 5H. So if Enigma at 5-1 is able to win this second game against Bronze 5H, they will go to 7-1, dropping Bronze 5H to 8-2. And then Enigma would play Keyboard Cats next week, and if they were able to win out. So Enigma do have a shot at first place, despite Bronze 5H being 8-0. So for B5A, in order to retain first spot, they just need to take a win off of this game. That would put them at 9-1, and they would be untouchable by any other team in this division. So that would secure them first place and the ability to play the 4th seed in the playoffs. Now, for Enigma, if they are to win this game, that would put them up to 7-1, like we just mentioned earlier, and then it would be up to their next week match to see if they could make it all the way up to first place. So we'll talk about that when we come to it. But Bronze 5H definitely haven't secured first. And Enigma, this first win, could be the opportunity of dethroning the Bronze 5H team.
Yeah, I mean, B5A was undefeated going into that. As you said, only 4-0 because of the free wins granted from Keyboard Cats and Anarchy. But regardless, still 0 in that loss column, but there's 1 for them there. And, this second game, there's a lot on the line. That first place spot, as you said, it does require Enigma to win out. But,
yes,
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility if Enigma has that good of a game again, but it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, great start to them. They're taking the game from Bronze 5H. The win conditions were pretty apparent for these guys, and I really like the Vayne twist pick at the very end. Enigma using their counter pick well to actually throw a complete monkey wrench in the draft. Previous to that, Bronze 5H really had no idea where this was going until they pulled out the answer to the Mundo. Now, granted, it didn't do it. The Vayne answer wasn't the only reason they won this game. You saw the Misfortune Blitzcrank actually have a huge impact, and Enigma were able to play through this bot lane early, secure that Infernal Dragon, and just transition that lead into the map. And so despite the Vayne counterpicking thrown there, it was the rest of Enigma's map, especially the bot lane, that helped them grab that early lead.
Yeah, I mean, you really only saw the Vayne come online a little later. She had the two kills in the bot lane on the Mundo, and then I can't remember. I think it was the Mumu as well, where the kiting came into play. But really, it was like, as you said, that bot lane in the mid lane, that 4 group of the jungler, the mid, and the bot really working together to accomplish their goal, which was clear. And I mean, just once again, I mean, I need to see just
If you're Bronze 5H on this one, are you changing your champion select identity? Or are you tweaking a couple picks? How do you think they approach this next draft? Are you banning some champions they showed in game one? What do you think will be? Let's start with the first thing. What do you think Bronze 5 Age are going to switch in their pick ban phase, if any? Or sorry, just ban phase, if any.
I think they need to not maybe not respect, but I think they do know now that Enigma can play like that early game stomp comp where it's
Yeah.
like, if you're at a position like we're gonna punish you. So I think now that they know they can play that and very effectively, I think you do want to respect their early game a little more and maybe not go such a late game team comp, or stick with the late game team comp and maybe ban out a few of those early game champions, maybe ban out the blitz. I'm not too sure if the thrush is going to be viable into the same kind of comp, but maybe ban out those playmaking champions that can get you an early game lead, because if they want to keep that late game comp, you might not be able to do it against Enigma because they seem to be really, really good in that early game with those kind of comps.
Yeah, I think we are going to see the Xin Zhao ban. In fact, I would bet a lot of money we're going to see the Xin
Yeah.
Zhao ban. If Bronze 5 Age are just looking towards Enigma, it's kind of in the scouting report already. Their jungler has played um, on this team, on Enigma's team. He's substituted for other teams as well, but for this Enigma team, his only 2 games have been on Xin Zhao. So with this 3rd game on Xin Zhao, really accelerating any lead that this bot lane might have generated, and enabling the carries to carry. I think we're going to see the Xin Zhao ban from Bronze 5 Age. They might target the Blitzcrank, but Monumental also plays Nautilus and Morgana. He really likes these pick champions. And so I would argue that that ban might not be effective. I don't think a Misfortune ban will come out because
Yeah.
Misfortune was kind of Enigma's answer to the Caitlyn. So it just shows how good Ace is at adapting to the draft and excelling picks.
Ace played a extremely good game. I think back to some deciding plays in that game, and I don't know if you remember, but that juke on the Amumu in that top tri bush
Yes,
when they were
yes.
collapsing, if he gets bandage tossed there by the Amumu and that's a stun, they collapse on that, he's dead. That shutdown gold goes over to BVA, and maybe that game's different because maybe then they lose more than just that tower, but a kill as well, and maybe they go 2 towers, or maybe they get map control off that. But because he sidestepped that ability, just that one ability, that potentially changed the game by him not dying.
Yeah, I like the thought from Bronze 5 Age, making a group effort to force that top lane. And if Enigma has had challenged as a team, or even had sent people up and gotten caught out, Bronze 5 Age would have surely collapsed on that and turned that into a couple kills and maybe an objective. But Enigma not getting caught out there, narrowly dodging a bullet, see it however you will, but able to avoid a good effort from Bronze 5 Age and continue their snowball of the early game. And I'd like to, talk about some of the plays Bronze 5 Age made this game, because they were well thought through. And every time you saw a team fight or a play executed, you're like, wow, if that had been perfectly executed, like exactly how they dreamed it in their minds, that would have been an outstanding play that could have resulted in big win from them. But whether it was the communication that wasn't quite on point, or maybe the execution could have gone a little differently. But definitely, Enigma was able to capitalize. I'm thinking about that Baron fight again with the Amumu flank, and
Mhm.
um, Hayar is able to condemn Psychopez into the wall to secure that second kill. Just jumping on these little opportunities that were given them, enabled Enigma to keep the snowball rolling close out.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, that Baron fight again, I mean, BVA had really strong communication to start out that game with the wards and the pathing
Yeah.
coverage. I felt like they had very strong communication. They all knew where each other were. They all know what their priorities were. They all knew what they needed to do. And then it kind of started to slip, maybe a little too far extended on some plays, weren't respecting the pick potential that Enigma has,
Mhm.
and things like that. That I don't want to say costed them that game, but definitely things they can improve on in the coming weeks for going into playoffs for sure, and going into this next game.
Yeah. So let's kind of do a little verbal team game 2 between you and I. So if you're Enigma in game 2 and I'm Bronze 5H, how are you setting up your composition? or is it kind of dependent on what I do? Are you relying more on like the counter pick to Bronze 5 Ages team, or are you going to set up a composition and what is that going to look for game
You
two
know,
close out?
that's an interesting thought. I would like to see, since we talked about at the very beginning of the broadcast that um, since every team does now make playoffs, that maybe it is time to experiment. So I would like to see Enigma maybe press one of their comps that they haven't tried out, or maybe they have tried out, they haven't used it in an actual game yet. Something they've been working on in scrims maybe, or
Yeah,
normals. Something that can maybe show a different side to them. Maybe
yeah.
something like a give me a Teemo. I want to see a Teemo. Give me a Teemo. Give me a
now,
Teemo. Give me a Zed. Give me some style and champions.
now you have played these guys, of course, being in their division.
Yeah.
Is this the normal Enigma that you've seen? Was
I
this in game
mean,
one?
very good. Is I think the
Or have
game that
they
we
or
hmm?
if there or is their ability to adapt in the draft like that something that they've just
Yeah.
done every time, and so it's both normal and abnormal at the same time?
Yeah, that's something I was gonna say is that like they are extremely good in draft. I think they're a very good drafting champion team, and I think they are extremely good at recognizing their win conditions, which is why they did have those strengths in that game. They were able to recognize those things. I think the MF into a Caitlyn isn't something I've seen a lot of in my solo queue games at least, but that is extremely effective. Like, I think I'm gonna
Yeah,
be calling for that more from my ADC when I'm playing solo queue. Like, if I see a Caitlyn, I'm saying, "Hey, pick up the MF." You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because that
yeah.
was a lot better than I thought it was gonna go. I thought the MF was, gonna get just outranged and uh, beat. But with the ricochet coming off of MF's Q, I believe it is, that kind of keeps
Yeah, the
Caitlyn at
double up.
bay. Yeah,
Yeah, and you saw him land a crucial one in a chase down
yeah,
in mid to pick off. I think it was indeed the Caitlyn at the very end. But
yeah.
anyways, if I'm Bronze 5 Age, so we discussed some of Enigma's strengths. If I'm Bronze 5 Age, how I'm recovering in this game too, is I'm running the same kind of team fight composition.
Mhm,
We saw the fights that they initiated with the Amumu and the Dr. Mundo and the Alistar. They took a lot of skirmishes in mid lane. I'm banning the Zinzao. I'm
mhm.
banning the Morgana. I'm maybe even considering a blitz ban, and I'm doing the same thing because if not for that Xin Zhao, I think a lot of those plays would have worked that they made in the mid lane, and they would have gotten a lot more kills because of it. So I'm taking away some of those comfort picks, and I'm running the same thing because their plays were actually very deftly denied by Enigma. And if they take away some of those champions with the tools to deny those plays, I think that Bronze 5 Age can do the same thing that they've always done. We know this is their strength. I think they can pull it out in game two. So I'm banning some of those play disabling champions that Enigma used in game one. And I'm drafting the same kind of team fight composition. I'm playing the same way, and I'm tightening up my engages a little bit.
Yeah,
We saw the flanks from random angles, relying on a TP play. I'm tightening the engage. I'm grouping as five, and I'm making decisive plays like the top lane one we talked about. Even though it didn't net much for them other than a turret, it was the right call, and more of that I think would have garnered them a bigger advantage in the game. So that's what I'm doing as Bronze 5 Age. We'll see how it plays out in the draft. I think we're about ready to go. We have Bronze 5 Age now swapping over to the red side, of course, with the
mhm.
1-1 series. Both teams will swap no matter what happens. It's just up to who chooses the first game, first side. So Bronze 5 Age will hit that red side. Enigma will hop over to that blue side. Again, remember they lose their first two bans as a result of their sub CasualEAL in the Midlands. So
Yeah,
any other thoughts before the match?
I just yeah, let's not get it like we've been focusing like as you said like a lot on Enigma's strengths, but BVA is a very good team fighting team, and
Mhm.
I don't think they could not they definitely have the ability to pull off a team fighting comp, like we've seen it,
Yeah,
like it is not like out of the realm of possibility. Just because Enigma won that game early doesn't mean they can they'll necessarily do it
yeah.
again,
This is
right?
no reason to jump ship or anything if you're Bronze
Exactly.
5H. So
Exactly. I think, you play your early game a little smarter. You maybe don't take those risks. And you kind of wait it out and you feel it out. Maybe go for a slower paced game. And you might come out on the other end of that one. So I definitely think, even if you redid that same exact draft, I think clear win
mhm,
condition for BVA, and I think they could do it. So
yeah,
maybe we only see minimal changes, and it's kind of like the same stuff, but you know.
yeah. All right, here we are underway with Enigma with the first ban counting down here. 30 seconds in total is now at the 20-second mark. They are going to pass up this ban. I don't know if you can ban nothing in the Pro Draft tool, so we'll likely, if that is not the case, we'll likely see this one run out. At Bronze 5 Age, we're looking for a Xin Zhao ban. We're looking for a Morgana ban. We're even considering a Blitzcrank ban. Let me see if I can remember what they banned. The last time it was Morgana, Jinx, and it was the Cho'Gath actually. So high RA's pick on that Cho'Gath. We might see the Jinx ban dropped, but they are starting off with Morgana. Enigma will lose their second ban here, and so man, I do want to see that Zinzo ban. I've talked about it a lot, but they might let the Blitz up for the Cho'Gath. I'm trying to figure out what they're going to do here.
Interesting. If I'm BVA, I think I'd rather play against a Cho'Gath than a Blitzcrank. However, that's not to say both of them aren't extremely powerful. I think a Cho'Gath is really good.
It kind of depends on whether Enigma have a confident answer to the Cho'Gath in the top lane or not. That's kind of the thing. If Austin Resip says, "Hey, I just really don't want to play against that," then they might take the Cho'Gath away and give up a support ban or something. But we do see that Cho'Gath being hovered from Bronze 5 Age, and it will be locked. So they have one more ban, and this was the Jinx last time in Game 1. So we'll see if they swap it up. If they don't ban the Xin Zhao, I'd like to see that as the early pick from Enigma, not necessarily as a takeaway. Meanwhile, we're not really surprised by the Vi. That was the early game ban against Noxian, one of his best junglers. So I wonder if they first pick Xin Zhao or maybe an ADC or support. I don't know. Enigma could throw us with this draft as well.
You would have liked to see the Xin Zhao, but obviously, skipping two bans because of this not the greatest, thing you'd ask for. If you want to, go for 3 bans, you'd like probably 3 bans. But Vi definitely a good ban.
And Bronze 5 Age is going to take away the Vayne. Interesting. So that means they're likely going to run it back to the Dr. Mundo, something that Enigma's probably not too worried about. Hyaris is going to have to plan another counter pick, or maybe ban that in phase 2 if it gets that far. But Blitzcrank is going to be the first pick, and that is very confident. I like that from Monumental. He's saying, Psycho, I don't think you play anything that can take down my Blitz. We saw the Alistar, actually not a bad matchup for the Alistar. We saw Monumental being able to do what he wanted to. And the Leona, yes, I was just about to talk about this. Another one of Psycho Pez's a little bit less popular champions, but something that he definitely has shown. And the Leona Sivir. This is an outstanding response from Bronze 5 Age.
You hate to see it if you are Enigma. Leona is the worst to play against, especially as a Blitzcrank. You pull in the Leona, you're just going to get stunned. And then guess what? You're going to get stunned again because Leona has so much CC. And you can't pull the Sivir because she has like a spell shield. So that is really difficult for Enigma. Blitzcrank mid.
So the Dr. Mundo now, and this is a surprise, is to take away from Bronze 5 Age. So this is going to Hyaris. I don't believe he's played it this split so far. No, he has not. Okay, so definitely a takeaway pick, obviously, from Austin Restip. So we'll see how Hyaris performs on that Mundo, if he's able to hit his power spikes in his farm the same way that Alston did. And the Caitlyn is going to be their pick. So now that Bronze 5 Age don't have it, this is one of Ace's comfort picks. So Caitlyn Blitzcrank, like you talked about in the beginning, I think Caitlyn is a better matchup into the Sivir Leona than the Blitzcrank is, of course.
Yeah, I think the Caitlyn's really effective, especially against Sivir, because you can't spell shield those autos. So she's just going to be autoing you, and you're just going to take damage for free because she's got a huge range. So I definitely do like that Caitlyn response, but a Warwick, wow.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one in a while. He was very popular when he first got reworked, but he's fallen off quite a bit. But definitely something that Alston, or not Alston, I keep saying Alston because he used to be the jungler. Oninokin, not liking the Amumu from last game, is going to choose to go with the Warwick. So a bit of a different look from Bronze 5H. And as we head into the second round of bans, Both teams, or Bronze 5 Age, have yet to pick their mid and their top, and they'll be set up to counterpick both, which is a distinct advantage I think they'll have here in this latter part of the draft. They can answer into the Mundo first, wait for Enigma to take their first 2 picks, and then counter with mid last. So I expect them to take that in the draft. But second ban phase, looking very similar to first. The Katarina taken away from the mid laner Kajwe, and then Malphite away from the top laner Hyaris. So
I'm interested to see top lane's counterpick. There's the Zen. Zen Zhao banned away. I'm interested to see top lane BVA's counterpick to the Dr. Mundo top lane, because Vayne's really strong, but I'm actually looking at pretty much an irrelevant champion now, but someone who used to be a huge counterpick into a Mundo, a Trundle. Maybe a Trundle come out, because that Trundle ultimate will absolutely make Dr. Mundo a very squishy target because you take out those.
Yeah, I definitely think Trundle actually is still pretty good in this meta. I definitely don't think he's fallen out. His Trundle's thing, he is a counter pick to tank. So if we don't see tanks on the top lane, we don't see Trundle, and that's why it may have felt like he went out of relevance. But he's still there as an outstanding counter pick to some of these tanks in a melee matchup, especially if you're looking for somebody to tank up a lot of damage. But Vel'Koz here hovered and locked for Shadow, with Orianna gone, probably his next go-to long-range control mage that he's looking to help out the team fight with. So we'll see what Enigma pick. They have their mid and jungle left. Last time they did select the Swain for mid, and of course it was the Xin Zhao for jungle. So we'll now get to see what AJ's pick is here for jungle, as he's played Xin Zhao every game with Enigma so far. Won't get to this time.
For sure, yeah. And Malzahar, there it is.
Okay.
Malzahar into a Vel'Koz.
So this isn't really necessarily for the lane. I actually think Vel'Koz does better in this lane than the Malzahar. His ability to put out damage at a much longer range. He's pretty easily able to pop the Malzahar spell shield that comes up every 40 seconds on him. But it is now going to be the Olaf. And the early pressure from the Xin Zhao gone, but the Olaf still something that is able to bring about a strong early game for Enigma. Early pathing, gank pressure. And this is the kind of thing that AJ did well in the first game. So even with his hands on a different champion than Xin Zhao, I think he'll be able to impact the map on this champion just as well, if not better. So the Kennen now in response to the Dr. Mundo. Interesting. So we have the team fleshed out on both sides. What are the biggest changes you see maybe in composition playstyle from first game?
I'm interested to see how this works out for BVA, because as I talked about last game, when BVA had those tanks picked, there weren't any tank killer counterparts on Enigma. So I think the changes in the draft for Enigma are really good. I think that it is a very I'm gonna see how much you can respond to us, because that is a very forward team comp. Like, hey, like, what are you gonna do, right? With the Olaf just running at your face, with the Blitzcrank pulls, Dr. Mundo running at your face, and Malzahar gonna lock you down. But I'm interested to see the Malzahar, because actually Kennen is a really good target for a Malzahar ultimate. But before the Kennen, I'm interested to see who you are gonna ultimate if you're Malzahar. Maybe a Warwick if he jumps onto a target, but there's really no like Jax or Yasuo or somebody who's gonna 1v5 your team down the middle besides the Kennen. So I'm definitely gonna be waiting and looking to see if the Malzahar can hold on to that ultimate for the Kennen when Kennen goes in and tries to 1v5.
Yeah, a lot of good points you bring up here, and I kind of want to unpack these one by one. Enigma's big difference for me from last game comp is they have some tanks this time. So the Dr. Mundo on the top and the Olaf in the jungle, definitely a new look compared to what we saw last game with the Vayne and the Xin Zhao. As far as the Malzahar goes, I think his usefulness in fights at least is going to be to play off this Blitzcrank a little bit. Now we know Enigma drafted a pick composition last time, and they actually executed it very well. One of the best executions of a pick composition I've seen in a while. Swain kept landing those roots, and of course Monumental was outstanding on the Blitzcrank. But I think this Malzahar's job is going to be able to play off the Blitzcrank. And there really aren't any super tanky members on Bronze 5 Age. Of course, Leona is a little bit tanky, and Warwick can get beefy as well. But I imagine any of these targets, other than Leona, are decent pull choice for Blitzcrank. So if they're able to pull in and then Malzahar just ult that target, they can pick off a kill almost instantly. Not to mention the follow-up with Caitlyn traps there. So I think this Malzahar's role in team fights, if he doesn't have his flash Nether Grasp available to him, is to kind of play off of the Blitzcrank, which he knows and trusts can land his hooks when he needs to.
Yeah, I'm looking for win conditions in these two teams, and I'm seeing a lot of what I touched on briefly before we started the draft, which was if you're both teams, especially BVA now seeing Enigma playing that early game comp, and you're maybe not looking to scale up so much, it's interesting to see them go kind of a mix between, early game champions and late game champions. I think the Vel'Koz, typically is a little bit of both. I really like Vel'Koz's early game with that poke damage in lane. I think that if you do consistently land those Qs, it's extremely effective.
Mm-hmm.
And Kennen as well with the ultimates late game is pretty big, and Warwick's just effective at all stages of the game
Yeah.
for sure.
So an interaction to note, if I think it's going to be very important to track how and when this Kennen is able to get off his ultimate in relation to the Malzahar ult. So of course you have the suppression on Enigma's side if they're able to catch this Kennen and kill him, which can be very good if you're able to kill him before he's able to Zanya's or ult. But the Kennen Slicing Maelstrom is actually not a channel ability. In case any of you thought that, I don't know why you would have. But the Malzahar ult, even if they're able to suppress the Kennen, he's still going to be able to rain down lightning with that Slicing Maelstrom and do the damage he needs to. So you got to be really careful how you play around this Kennen, because if you allow him to get off his ult and go into your team, a Malzahar Nether Grasp isn't going to do much good, as he's still able to get off his full damage. So maybe the Warwick could be a good target there, or if they're able to pick, of course, on the Vel'Koz or Sivir. So some important things to note about Enigma as differ from this early game from last. We saw them get a huge early game advantage around this bot lane. And while I don't doubt the skill of Monumental in the bot lane on Blitzcrank, I think it's going to be quite harder for them to naturally establish a lead or land the kills that they need to against a Leon or a Sivir. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the Blitzcrank loses a lot of pressure in that early game, which is actually another point I wanted to bring up. Why I want to see Blitzcrank maybe get an early Moby boots and get the roam game going.
Yeah.
Like, a Vel'Koz is extremely susceptible to early ganks. I mean, it has the one knock-up ability on his E and a slow, but if you're a Blitzcrank, you don't really care about that, because you can, now with the buffs to his grab, you can grab Vel'Koz from across the lane, really. So you don't really care about Vel'Koz's CC. You can just kind of W in with your speed boost and grab him. And
Yeah.
so I really am looking for the not only the roams to mid lane, but also I want him to help out his jungler, because last game we saw the really good early jungle control on that bot side, and Olaf is extremely good as that with that as well, but
Yeah.
so is Warwick. So
Yeah.
it's not as cut and dry. Whereas last game the Amumu's not really great early, so he was kind of like not an easy, but you kind of have that advantage with an early game jungler versus not so early game jungler. Now you have two rather early game junglers in the Olaf and Warwick. I'm really looking towards that bot lane for Enigma to grab bot priority and really help out their jungler, maybe invade or even defend invades, get wards, dragon control, or even help out their mid laner with just group roams.
Yeah, and think about the mid lane matchup for a little bit. The Vel'Koz actually has more ability to provide range damage than the Malzahar. Malzahar is not going to feel too comfortable in lane. He might go down a little bit in CS if Shadow wants to pressure on the Vel'Koz. Getting this Malzahar to a stage in lane where he's very comfortable shoving the lane and then leaving, this can not only provide like a third roam buddy, if this Malzahar is able to just drop his Voidlings down on the wave and then walk around with the jungler and support if the Blitzcrank does choose to roam, but also if you're able to put some pressure on this mid lane a bit, Shadow stylistically is a very safe mid laner. If he feels like he's being put under pressure, he's very good at not dying in those circumstances, but instead going back to his turret, playing a little safer, farming for late game, and being effective that way. So if you're able to threaten him in that way, like send a Blitzcrank up or roam together with your Olaf, he's actually going to probably back up to his turret and start farming from there, which enables the Malzahar to put out a little more pressure in the lane. So a lane that he naturally would not win were it to be a 1v.
Yeah, and the thing I'm also thinking about is come late game, who has the better sieging comp? Who's gonna run it? Who's gonna run it down mid and be able to force you out of lane just because they have, the sieging ability? To
Yeah,
me, both teams really don't have the best. I think
yeah.
Enigma, you have the Caitlyn, and you do have the Malzahar with the minions.
Hmm.
But it's not like you have an insane sieging comp because the rest of your three are melee with few abilities the Blitzcrank can pull, but once again is pulling your really best option because then you engage in a team fight. And if you're not really looking for a team fight, especially against a Kennen, against a Leona who can stun your whole team, a Vel'Koz who can just R and ultimate and just laser your whole team down, I'm not sure if you're really looking for those fights consistently. So, on
Yeah,
BVA's side, Sivir doesn't really have the best range. Leona's melee, Warwick's melee, Kennen not the greatest range either, but with the hybrid with the 80 and AP ratios, maybe can do some good tower damage ability. Tower damage, and Vel'Koz does have really good poke as
yeah.
well.
Yeah, so there are a couple of sieging tools here, but to your point, this is likely not how we're going to see the game decided. Very few
Yeah,
games in this league have ever come down to which team is able to execute on a siege comp, especially not Bronze 5H teams. They're not teams that live or die by the siege. So I think it's going to come down to team fighting, as it almost always does with these types of teams. And so having these siege tools is advantageous if you're in a number situation or if you've just won a team fight and are looking to put as much tower damage down as possible. But that's not really how we're going to see this decided. I think it's going to be about vision control, which team is able to get an early lead and sweep those contested areas around major objectives and establish a team fight. Because let's face it, both these teams have outstanding pick on their team.
yeah,
Malzahar suppression, Blitzcrank hook, got the Warwick ultimate as well as Leona. Both of these teams have the tools to make a fight on or initiate a fight on their terms and win a fight off of that initiation. Look at the follow-up damage that each team
yeah.
has. If you have a Malzahar ultimate, you drop the Caitlyn trap and everybody's going nuts onto that target. That target will die instantly, as well as Bronze 5 Age. If you see a Warwick suppressing somebody, Vel'Koz dropping his ultimate, Kennen going in with the Slicing Maelstrom, both these teams have great follow-up to their already great engage. So I think we're going to have to look at the vision control, which team gets ahead early, and how they use their vision to set up the team fights that they want. I think that's how we're going to see this game decided.
Yeah. To me, I'm really looking for the Caitlyn on Enigma's side to pump out that damage. I need the Caitlyn to really get rather ahead early and pump out that damage because she's the range of her team. As you said, Malzahar doesn't have the greatest range, will get out poked by the Vel'Koz and then the
Mhm.
three melee champions. And on BVA's side, I'm looking for the Vel'Koz because the Vel'Koz needs to really get going on that poke damage because poking down this comp of Enigma, which is rather tanky, is crucial. With the
Yeah,
Sivir boomerangs going through pretty much Enigma's whole team with the bounces, it's going to be pivotal for the Vel'Koz to really get that damage. But I'm also looking at the Kennen because if the Kennen can get a really massive 4, 5 man, even 3 man in some cases ultimate, that's massive. And then
yeah,
it turn into a Zonya's where you can go in stasis and you can survive with that ultimate consistently going. I mean, that's teamfight turning,
yeah.
just like
The,
the Orion was last game.
the Canon does have a lot of tools to succeed. I should mention furthermore the Sivir on the hunt, along with the Leona CC and the Warwick suppression, actually able to set up this Kennen very well to get in there with a good, at least 3-man slicing maelstrom, like you said. I think this Kennen is going to have some guaranteed targets in team fights that Bronze 5H choose. Now, you mentioned Vel'Koz. He's kind of the odd man out in this composition. If Leona, Sivir, Warwick, Kennen want to run it down and get off their ultimates, get as much damage as possible, Vel'Koz treats team fights a different way. So we'll have to keep an eye on him and his positioning because there's a way that could go really well and there's a way that could go really poorly. So Enigma with their pig comp, if they're able to isolate this Vel'Koz, if Bronze 5H aren't able to initiate the team fight on their teams, we could see problems and a team fight going in Enigma's way. So the Vel'Koz kind of being the oddity to this composition could play a role. We'll keep an eye on that. But mostly if you're looking for Bronze 5 Age with the Sivir, Warwick, Leona, all the CC and utility enabling this cannon to get in there, I think you highlighted that as one of the big reasons why Bronze 5 Age could win team fights. But we're hopping onto the Rift. Time for your prediction. Who do you think is going to take game 2 based on what we've seen? You kind of almost chickened out in that first game. What's it going to be for game 2?
Okay, if I'm gonna make this a nice deciding factor, I think BVA is gonna take this one.
Yeah,
I think BVA's got this one.
Yeah, if they're able to tighten up their engage and make sure they're all on the same page as to what side of the fight they're going to what side of the fights they're going to focus. Remember that skirmish in the top side last game where Bronze 5 Age was able to immediately decide and focus a target really quickly? That's the kind of communication I want from them. If they're all on the same page and execute together, I definitely think they have the tools to win this game the way they want to win Bronze 5 Age games.
Yeah, that's extremely well said. I'm also looking at the combo CC on both teams, actually, in a Malzahar R, and if you can time the Blitzcrank rocket grab well, and so it's at the end of the Malzahar Nethergrass, then you won't take away that CC that Malzahar offers, but you'll chain it into your own CC and then into a Caitlyn trap. Huge.
Yeah. So it looks like Enigma doing another invade here. Again, spotted out for Bronze 5 Age. Didn't have the vision, but Alston Restip very alert, able to step back out of that. You often see people, even though they're watching those angles, get caught by a quick invade, but very alert on the cannon. Wards were traded. Enigma were able to get one down on the red side of Bronze 5 Age, who did ward outside their red in turn. And then a couple wards dropped down towards the bot lane. So nothing too much happening on. We won't see an invade like we did earlier. Olaf is starting the Wraith, so he will be in the enemy's jungle. And actually, I'm totally wrong about that. He is actually going to go on to clear that red buff and look to make an invade. And he avoided the path of that ward, I believe, so that Bronze 5 Age are not going to be aware that he is doing that red. Or maybe I'm wrong. We'll have to see.
Yeah, it looks like they're just gonna go for the inverted jungling, vertical jungling. I apologize, inverted, vertical, and so they're just gonna take both each other's sides.
But a quick gank on the top lane. Has also Restip leveled his ability yet? As we see fights breaking out in both the top lane and the bottom lane. Alston Restip will flash out, but in the bottom lane, not able to pick up the kill. And actually, Enigma, in similar fashion to last game, are able to avoid an early gank, trading positive and summoners. Both Psychopez's summoners are down.
Yeah, looking like a mirror game, isn't it? Right in the first 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Bot lane did get that level 2 advantage, so they were able to get that early engage, but it was traded back, and health bar is looking pretty even.
Yeah, so a lot of shenanigans being pulled early. We saw Warwick going down to take that red buff and immediately follow up with a bot gank. So kind of mirrored ganks on either side. Summoners blown, but nothing too crazy here in the early game. As Sivir and Leona pushing in hard with this Ricochet ability, getting in the face of a Caitlyn, which is something you don't see very often. But if anybody can do it, it's a Sivir.
Yeah, that's a Sivir, isn't it? It's just kind of shove your wave, and you know, with that spell shield, you're feeling really good.
But now with Hook down, they're going to go in. Monumental Kill will have to flash, as well timed from Psychopez to capitalize on the rocket grab being used and missed there from Monumental. So nice little trade from Bronze 5 Age.
That's what you're looking at right there. As soon as Blitzcrank misses that Q, just go in.
Yep. And that's the advantage of the Leona. You can even do that when he's landed his Q, but we see a little skirmish on the bot side as Ononoken is able to pop that spell shield and then get the fear. Going into CasualEAL, he has his flash but chooses not to use it as Shadow roams over, helps Ononoken secure the kill, and that'll be first blood to Bronze 5 Age, right onto their jungler, the Warwick.
Yeah, and that's a little scary for Enigma, because that kill does go on to the Warwick, which will provide them some early jungling advantage with that extra gold. For sure beneficial. You know, maybe would have liked to see that kill go on to the Vel'Koz, but I'm sure it doesn't. You know, it's apples and oranges. It really, it's first kill game.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of. And if you notice the kill here in the early game, not only did CasualEAL die in kind of an awkward spot, I criticized his lack of using that flash, but now that I'm rethinking it, he really didn't have a good spot to flash to. Ooh, as we see a hook land in the bot lane on a Psychopez trap dropped immediately. He's going to get stunned from that 90 caliber net. But Psychopez very tanky with that Leona W. Cephas, I don't want to take a little too much minion aggro, but we'll trade there in the bot lane. Does not result in much, but Enigma actually regaining control of that bot lane. But back to the mid lane, not only did CasualEAL die in kind of an awkward spot, he actually ends up missing quite a few CS as Shadow jumps out to an early 15 CS lead, something we didn't see between these mid laners in game one.
Yeah, and you're looking right now as a first Cloud Drake. Very important, actually, maybe more important than it does seem for that Olaf, because that Olaf really could use that Cloud Drake, get around a little faster. It is an extremely useful part of Olaf's kit, just to run around and throw some axes in your face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, taking a look at this top lane as we're talking a little bit about CS discrepancies, we've seen the Mundo farm very well in both games despite being in a ranged melee matchup disadvantage. Now, Mundo is one of the best with Dorn Shield at being able to negate that ranged advantage and do whatever he pleases. But not only is the Mundo doing well, it's actually Hayara's Mundo this time able to out CS Olsen Restup's Kennen. So this Mundo going to be able to hit a power spike that likely the Kennen is not going to be able to match in the side lane, whereas the Vayne was last game. So expect Bronze 5H to look to group that Kennen pretty quickly. I don't think we're going to see some kind of split push build here from Olsen and Restup. I think they're going to group and try and use him for team fights. But shout out to IRAs putting down that CS like we've seen the Mundos do all series.
Yeah, and you're looking at a Warwick right now.
Ooh, bot lane. This is something
already,
Enigma. This is something Enigma does really well. They catch out junglers in the bot lane. Monumental kill, again a hook. Great flash on Enoch, and he would have been dead there for sure as CasualEAL had the ultimate available to him. So I mentioned this is something. This is how Enigma got their advantage here in game one, is being able to make those picks onto the jungler. You remember that catch onto the Amumu in game one that kicked off an early dragon. So not able to get it this time. Enoch, and recognizing that he was in danger, flashed quickly and was able to get to safety.
Yeah, he did have to flash there. That was definitely going to be a kill over if he didn't flash. So good play on his end. But as I was about to say, Warwick already with a team that is huge, and boots as well. Get him around really quick. And that control word for early vision, which is always so important in that early game to find out what the pathing is for both junglers. A really underrated part of the game is to just realize where the other jungler is at all times. That is so huge. So you know if you're in an area to get ganked or not.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point, and Olaf is one of the kings of quick clears for the jungle, but having that Warwick opposing him with that early Tiamat, actually able to outpace him a little bit in CS. So despite how good Olaf is at running through his jungle, getting that early kill on Ononoken, he's definitely using that to farm up big and able to get quite a few creeps. But here we see a play on a bot lane. Monumental will land the pick on the Psychopez. Very tanky on the Leona. He will avoid the trap, and yeah, not much more to happen out of this is FaZe isn't able to get that trap right away on the Psychopez. Olaf not able to follow up the CC, so good attempt. But here's on Enoch at level 5 coming down in the bot lane. No access to the infinite duress, but Shadow is here. Here comes the ultimate down for the middle. Guys, this is so close. Members are going to fall on both sides. Blitzcrank does the kill that cure with the rocket grab, and now they have to run out of there as Bronze 5H are chasing. The Solar Flare is going to land onto the mid laner from Enigma, and he is going to fall. It is a 2-for-1. I'm sorry, a 2-for-1? I think it was a 2-for-1 in favor of Bronze 5H, as they traded early kills, but the mid laner also went down for Enigma.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Wow, almost down there. Mundo on top as well, almost killed in the solo battle. But on that dragon fight, that was a great flank from the Warwick into the fear, and really kicked that one off. But I also, as I talked about, the CC chain from BVA was very well pulled off there, and the flash from the Psychopez to stun the Malzahar after the Malzahar flashed away. That was a very, very great play, and the stun from the ultimate. That was just a very well played fight all the way around from BBA.
Yeah, that's what you see the best Leonas do, is make sure their CC is chained so close together such that it's a guaranteed lockdown on the enemy. Sometimes the mistakes you see with Leona is keeping their CC a little too far apart and allowing the enemy an opportunity to flash out, or is use an escape maneuver in between CC abilities. But Psychopez immediately flashing them with the Q right after ulting the target meant that even though Kajwa used his flash there and tried to get out, he was going down anyway because he was going to be stunned with that auto attack.
And as I talked about that, Velk... Oh!
Here comes another fight in the bot lane. This time the Olaf is here. They've landed the hook, but we've got fights on both sides. As bot lane is going to get out of there from Bronze 5H, but in mid lane, it is brutal as Ononoken lands the infinite duress. And with Vel'Koz's damage, Shadow's able to take him down and pick up the kill. So this is now an advantage from Bronze 5H here in this game. And you'll notice what we talked about in pregame is how less likely it was for the bot lane of Enigma to create advantages here against the Sivir Leona lane. And you see every time Monumental Kill lands a hook onto Psychopez, they're not able to follow it up with much damage, even if Ace is able to get that trap down. So just the tankiness of the Leona and the return fire that Bronze 5H's bot lane is able to get really is nullifying some of the efforts that gave Enigma the early lead in game 1.
Yeah, and you're looking at a huge play there from the mid laner and the jungler, recognizing that Olaf AJ showed bot lane, so they know he cannot counter gank on the mid. Oh, Leona!
We got a fight in the bot lane. Warwick is here, no ultimate there. They're going to go on a Monumental Kill. He's going to have to flash out from tower. 2 flashes burned there from Enigma to get out of that gank, and that would have been brutal if they had been able to pick up both of those kills. Hook on the backside, not going to be able to land, but CasualEAL jumping over. He's got support from AJ. They're trying to get that ultimate off, and Shadow is going to flash out of respect and get himself out to safety. So 2 for 0 overall. I'm sorry, 0 for 0. They didn't actually pick up any kills. It's just the 2 flashes. That's what I'm thinking.
But also on the flip side, Enigma did pick up that Cloud Drake, so despite being in a gold disadvantage and a kill disadvantage, and maybe even a map pressure disadvantage, they did pick up that Cloud Drake, which will help Olaf substantially for this game. Hook finding nobody.
Looking for another gadget. Yeah, not sure this is what they want to, as in comes the Warwick, comes flying by the Blitzcrank. Not needed with that infinite duress lock on. He's able to pick up the kill anyway. Monumental Kill, not sure why he was going for that. They didn't have vision nor the support from the Olaf, who is doing the Herald. So they are going to trade a kill over that way. If he's able to get the Herald, then definitely could be a good advantage traded back from Enigma. But sad that they lost one of their bot laners there for it.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, once you miss the hook, maybe you decide maybe you don't want to take it anymore, and especially because it was a 3v2 with, you know, no vision on really who's really there, and no counter gank opportunity for them. Maybe you know, if he'd probably want to have that one back for sure. If he could pause the frame, think about it a little more, and do it all over, I think he would. But you know, it happened, and they're down 5-1, but only a 3k gold lead about at 12-minute mark. That is rather substantial, but it is only on to 2 champions, so definitely not an insurmountable comeback, but one that does need to happen for Enigma.
Yeah. So the Rift Child was secured, worth mentioning, from AJ, is able to pick that up. Now, it's been hard for him to identify a good lane to attack here, and so I'm worried that he may not get off the Rift Herald that would be able to take down a turret. He does have about 50 seconds left if he wants to get some plates with that. So I'm not sure if he's going to choose to use that right away, even if it's a suboptimal opportunity, or wait a little bit and try and get a full turret with it. A good opportunity. So yeah, my concern is that he's not really been able to affect any of these lanes anywhere near as much as he was able to in the first game. So we'll see if he's able to get a good Herald off this time. And this is really one of the opportunities that Enigma have to get back in this game. So we'll see how they use it. But Ononoken is going to visit top lane, and Latin Fire sees the Dragon's head above him and knows that something fishy is up.
Wouldn't be advised to dive a Mundo with ultimate this early in the game, where he's still rather tanky.
They've
run him down
each other in the jungle. Yeah, Landfire doesn't want to chase this far as he is going to run right into Oninoken. Flash forward from Alston. Redstep not quite landing the slicing maelstrom. Is on the edge. Here comes the suppression from the Malzahar, and all of a sudden this fight has turned now. Alston Redstep very low, will go down, but Shadow is here. Turns around with the life form disintegration ray, and the Warwick will die too. And all of a sudden this is turned in the favor of Enigma, as they were able to bring all of their members to that fight, and that Malzahar moving over nice and early, getting quick priority, able to make it before the Vel'Koz and land that suppression, and actually did tons of damage there.
And here's the Rift Herald too, a really good spot with the jungler down, and no TP from the Kennen as he's down as well, and it's not even up. So
Spell Shield is down. Yeah, so the Hook is going to bait out the Spell Shield, so not sure if they're able to follow up on that. I think they're just more here for the Rift Herald damage. Didn't quite get it off in time to secure some plating. As the Solar Flare will come down, not quite land anything there, but likely just to dissuade them from doing a tower dive, as the Hook will split the uprights, and Enigma will back out. But they did significant damage to that tower, but the real win was that fight in the top lane, in which CasualEAL, despite being 0-3, was actually able to pick up 2 kills for himself in overall 3v3 skirmish.
Yeah. Oh, Caitlyn.
But here comes a bot lane fight. Caitlyn in big trouble. They're going to be taken down here, but we'll see if they can return onto Oninoken. His teleport comes in from Hyares, but likely nothing to be able to trade it back from Enigma here, as they're kind of strolling around the lane now. Yeah, so this is a crucial point. So the dragon is up now. It is an Infernal. So the question is, do they try and answer Alston Redstep's push, or do they make sure that Bronze 5H don't take this dragon here? Because they are 4 members, Enigma are, but they do have the cannon split pushing in the side lane, and likely he's going to be and this is good from Bronze 5H. They're making Enigma choose. They're going to try and go in and fight here. Oninoken going to go for the Dragon Steel, but he's going to get focused. But here comes the Life Form Disintegration Ray. He's going to be able to take Fair members very low. It is a 2-for-1 overall. This is in favor of Bronze 5H. IRs have to retreat as he might be in trouble now. Dragon is still hitting away very low. No junglers are up and about, and the kills are going to come in this Mundo. He's going huge on the backside. Caitlyn takes the dragon. What does it matter now? Alston Redstep here with the slicing maelstrom. Heal comes just in time to save the high eyes. This Mundo is still taking so much. He's in the crowd. He's pumping out the damage. Enigma turning in that fight. This Mundo able to take so much in the dragon pit. They secure the Infernal and come away with the overall team fight win.
Oh my gosh. I thought they were out of that fight for sure. I saw the Olaf going in, and he just kind of got melted down, but did get the Sivir low. And then Caitlyn from the bag hops over the wall and just obliterates the low HP bars and steals the dragon. What a play from Ace and squad from Enigma to, you know, crawl back into this game. They were at a rather large deficit, but now with 2 dragons to their name and come down to a 2K goal lead.
Oh, here comes the pick on the Shadow. He is 4-0. This is a pretty big bounty for somebody. Dutch juked the initial hook, but who's going to pick up this kill? It is the Malzahar, so another huge influx of gold going into his back pocket, and he's going to start hitting those power spikes and being more than just an ult bot for his team. He's going to put out some damage.
Yeah, I mean...
Ooh, another hook landing. There's the pick on Oninoken. He's going to be suppressed by the Malzahar, who's tanking the turret. He has to back out really quickly, but they're able to get that pick on Oninoken. And like we talked about, Enigma is able to execute these pick compositions that they draft. So Bronze 5H getting caught out a little bit off guard, and Blitzcrank into Malzahar, definitely something that you have to fear. Also, Oninoken taken down by that combo, and all of a sudden Enigma showing some life here in the mid game.
Wow. And cut it down to a no gold lead pretty much. I mean, maybe just 100, but realistically, they really just did come into that game with some great early to mid game play there in around the 60-minute mark. That was insane. Yeah. And you do check the items, and you do see first full items coming in with the Ludens, an Infinity Edge, a Cinderhulk, and a Spirit Visage onto the full main of Enigma. Oh, top lane. Yeah, we might see a fight in the top lane. Hyara is definitely down to take this fight as his ultimate is healing up at a very rapid rate, but now the junglers have arrived. Warwick coming in, but roaming. Undertow thrown from AJ will dissuade him, and both teams are kind of on the roam up in this direction, as the Herald has already taken no Baron for about 1 minute and 10 seconds, so nothing really to fight up over here, but likely both teams responding
to the defense of their top laners.
Yeah, I just thought that was gonna be some trading, and then they pulled out the ultimates, and I'm like, oh, this is getting serious now. I really just thought they were just gonna go back and forth, but definitely Hayar is going for the solo kill there. Would have been big play.
Yeah, so this is something we really haven't talked about is the side lane Malzahar. Now, I'd argue he definitely is going to have an advantage over the Kennen, but likely would lose to the Vel'Koz in that lane. But then that's the thing. You know, Bronze 5H really don't want Vel'Koz in the side lane. So as we're looking for a pick here in the mid lane, ooh, the stopwatch is popped, enabling him to escape the hook. In goes Psychopez now. Does land the ultimate. CasualEAL is here. Is going to be able to turn the kill. Does land the suppression. Ace in the hole. Oh, the suppression. The infinite duress does comes in. Ace in the crowd is solo. Going to have to kite out. Oninoken now burning down, but Bronze 5H is here. They take one kill. Going onto the Sivir. Oninoken is healing so much as he's able to pick up the kill on the backside. This Warwick is insane as Bronze 5H traded 2 for 0 and then win on that team fight. Top lane though, it never stops. Also Reztip might be in trouble here as Hyaris does dunk him on that Mundo, finishing off the kill here. But Bronze 5H, big fight in the mid lane, taking that mid lane turret.
Warwick did not want to die. He said not today. He lived with 100 HP probably 8 times in that fight. He just kept going below 100. No, I'm back at 100. And then he keeps going below. No. That was insane. The healing coming up from the Warwick there was nuts. Really thought Olaf was going to come in and clean up. But
and it bought so much time for Bronze 5H to be able to close in onto those carries and pick up 2 kills. So very well played from Oninoken, and able to get out with his life. And Bronze 5H and Enigma just hitting hard back and forth here in this mid game. And so once this thing stabilizes, we might be able to see a Civision start to be placed. And we talked a little bit about a 1-3-1, and I do think it does favor Enigma, as they are able to set up both the Malzahar and the Mundo on the 1v1, and I would argue that neither the Kennen nor the Vel'Koz or anybody can match the Mundo at this point with the Spirit Visage and Mercury's treads. So I think he's going to be an unstoppable force in that side lane, and then if you just send Malzahar into the other lane, I don't really think there's much that Bronze 5H can do. But it will come down to whether Bronze 5H can stop them from establishing this 1-3-1. This monumental kill looks rough there.
BVA getting tower there to even up at 2-2 and taking about a 2k gold lead. And Dragon starting up. It is an Ocean Drake. Rather important. The first one.
Yeah, so Oninoken up in that top lane, taking that turret. He does get the turret for his team, but now that they know the jungler isn't there, Enigma are free to look onto this dragon. Hayari's going to TP down to that top lane and look to actually take Oninoken. He does have the infinite duress up, so is able to use that to leap to safety if he needs to, and I think he might have to, as Hyaris is going to commit to the chase. Does not able to get it over the wall, and this might be the go sign for Hyaris as he pops the ultimate and digs into Oninoken, does take him down in the 1v1. Now Psychopez is a little bit caught out, but maybe it's Hyaris who's caught out on the Mundo as he turns in. He wants more. This Mundo is going crazy as the rest of his team rushes to support him as he's tearing through the members of Bronze 5H. Carries mean nothing to him as he's able to slaughter everything in his path. But here comes Shadow, an outstanding setup near the bush as he's able to get off that Lifeform Disintegration Ray. But Enigma is on the onslaught. They're going forward and almost lose 2 members there. Shadow picks off one in the end with the W there from the Vel'Koz, and overall a good chase down from Enigma, but Bronze 5H turning that in a meaningful way. Oh, here comes the Kennen in onto the Malzahar. This could be a kill for also Reztip. CasualEAL not going to be able to do much to stop that. Does flash at the variant, unfortunately gets hit by the auto anyways. And well played by the Kennen to get something off the back end. Overall, a 2 for 2 there, as there was kind of some hectic fights on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, that maybe looks like it's just an ordinary kill for the Kennen, but got 500 gold in shutdown from that one. So that was huge for him to get back into the game. Was 0-3, but now 1-3, but with a huge, maybe like almost 2 kills worth in his pocket. So that's a lot for him. Blitzcrank, looking at the ward, still doesn't have a sweeper. Maybe he does want to pick that up, and maybe Caitlyn does want to Farsight Ascension, as the pick potential on BVA is not to be overlooked. So maybe he doesn't want to face check too much with the wards.
Yeah, especially when you're a Blitzcrank, definitely argue you need that sweeper earlier in the game than even most supports. And it's hard for Enigma to close out onto an objective and secure vision around it without 2 sweepers. So I think he needs to grab that real right quick for his team. But Enigma looking for a push into the bottom lane. They might try and target this outer turret here. Dragon is still a few minutes away from coming up. The Baron is in play, but neither of these teams really are looking for it. But as I say that, Bronze 5H, no, they are actually starting up the Baron. Caster Curse indeed. And Enigma has no way of responding to this. Not even the TP from the Mundo is up. And this is going to be a snuck Baron here. So, and even if Enigma get this outer turret, which likely they will, this is definitely not worth it. As the empowered recalls from Bronze 5H bring them back, and holy moly, they have snuck Baron from under Enigma's nose.
I mean, no vision on it from Enigma. They've done a really good job of warding that bottom part of the map, you see, but not...
They might have stayed too long on the hunt. Pop by the Sivir. A great grab. They're able to take him down, and that might just have stopped the engager. Monumental kill very low. The life form disintegration rate from the Vel'Koz is able to take down the Mundo with the help of the Vigor, but now Enigma got to get out of this. Kaelin raining down on the backside. It's a 2-for-2 overall. Big grit coming in. Steps on the trap. Not what you want. May have accidentally taken a minion, but barrier pop just in time. Close fight. It's a 2-for-2 overall. I thought Bronze 5H had the advantage there. Here comes the ultimate Psychopath down to a couple health. Peacemaker flash gets him, but here comes the Kennen. Hook misses, and he might be picking up both kills here. Indeed, he does. So Alston Restib comes and saves Bronze 5H in the nick of time, defends that turret, secures the kills for his team.
This has got me going through an emotional roller coaster. Right here, and Caitlyn flashing in for the kill. I was like, wow, that's insane. That is so risky, but high risk, high reward. But does pay the price as the Kennen does come in there for cleanup. But I mean, a great play by both teams, really, the sneak Baron, but then to come back and defend. But a great fight from Enigma, from the Caitlyn and Olaf, just doing a lot of damage there together.
Yeah, I thought that Enigma were going to be losing that fight even after they lost the Baron as well, but a great hook by Monumental, able to stop Cephas in his tracks on the Sivir. Came charging through with the On the Hunt, but was not paying attention to the Blitzcrank. They were able to catch and kill him immediately, so they kind of turned that fight on its head, and were able to stall for a little while. But like you said, that flash forward from Kaelin, able to secure the kill, but at what cost, as Kennen's able to return in time and grab the double kill into the last two remaining members of Enigma that were up there. So.
And shutdown gold as well on the Caitlyn. There was shutdown gold, so Kennen got some more shutdown gold now with 300 of his own. He's gotten a lot of gold in these past few minutes from shutdown, so a big thing to note. And you do see two very key items, the Bork and the Guinsus, coming through. Maybe not traditional. Maybe would have liked to see like a Hextech Gunblade come out. Like that,
I definitely expected Bronze 5H to use him in more of a team fight capacity with his build, but if he wants to take the 1v1 in the top lane, you know, that good on him, but we'll see how it impacts his team fight damage, as Dragon Control has been all Enigma this series.
Yeah, I don't think BVA has gotten a single Dragon. I think Enigma's done a very good job of controlling the map. The wards, look at the warding on that bottom side, that bottom river right around that Dragon control, that Dragon warding. There was not a place beside behind the Dragon where BVA could have come and they wouldn't have seen him coming.
Oh, but here we're going to see a fight. So this is going to be a 4-for-4. Both Malzahar and Kennen had yet to arrive to the fight. Big life form disintegration rate from the Vel'Koz. This is going to be crazy. Onino can live and very long on the backside. Isn't inevitably taken down. So it's a 1-for-1 overall. But CasualEAL is here now on the Malzahar. Kennen's still not there. Very close on both sides. The Malzahar has arrived. He's going to try to take down as many members as possible. The Nethergrass does land on the Leona. He's able to take a kill. That's a 2-for-1 overall. He flashes forward. Does land the Q onto multiple targets. He's got the Rylai, so that is a slow. He's chasing forward. He wants it. Ace of the crowd, though, is here on the Caitlyn. The Malzahar will die, but to get the Caitlyn in, and this is going to be a 3-for-2 overall, with actually Enigma taking the advantage in what turned out to be a 4v5, as Alston Restip never TP'd in, but likely he didn't because he might have cost another death, as Bronze 5H were just trying to get the heck out of Dodge.
Buff transfer complete. Caitlyn with the red buff from that series of kills was a really good fight for Enigma again. Still surprisingly has a gold deficit, only down 1 tower, 2 kills, but you know, I think it has something to do with the good CS on the part of BVA. The Sivir is leading by... Oh, Blitzcrank with the hook!
Yeah, pick onto this Kennen here. The trap is not quite able to do it, but Ace in the crowd just kind of walking by casually. Sees a support pick a Kennen and grabs himself some gold, and you talked about that bounty on the Kennen. That's gone, right onto the Caitlyn.
Wow. And I was talking about the shutdown gold. Yeah, like you said, there's 600 over to the Caitlyn. I mean, she'll take it. I mean, she's looking very strong, about to complete 3 items. That's a huge power spike for Caitlyn, but don't count out the Sivir. Sivir also has 3 items of her own, all 3 crit items actually, and a huge range bonus.
Oh, monumental! This is a huge hook right into Shadow. Is able to Zanya's in time, but can he avoid the follow-up damage? This is a big team fight. It's a 1-for-1. They have got the Vel'Koz, but the Blitzcrank is traded. Caitlyn kiting back. Oninoken goes in with the ultimate. We've got the fight on both sides here as Leona's going in. He's going to die eventually. The Warwick actually triumphs on that side as he's able to take down 2 people. He's going forward. This is a 2v2 quadra kill for the Warwick. Can he hunt down the pentakill? Does have to kite back as the Malefic Visions may have taken him down. Cephas goes forward, secures that in honor of his teammate, and a quadra kill by Oninoken as CasualEAL is able to take down the Sivir on the front side. But holy cow, this Warwick sustaining so much damage from the Caitlyn on the side, and we saw that fight split into 2 fronts. And Bronze 5H, well, they just won both sides of that fight. And Oninoken almost picking up the pentakill, wasn't able to do so, but Cephas took that last one for him and said, "Hey, buddy, I'll swing that last kill in your honor."
Wouldn't that have been something? Your first game, your first series you cast, and you would have seen a pentakill.
Yeah.
Put that one in the record books. But
Yeah.
hey, I'll keep waiting. I'll keep waiting. Who knows? There's still time left on the clock. Let's see it. I'm looking forward. I know Warwick can. That healing is insane. I don't know if you saw. He survived for so long in that top part of like the jungle and of the mid lane. He was just going to town on Enigma and staying alive.
And that was the turn in that. That was the pivotal moment in that fight. If Caitlyn had been able to take down that Warwick when he was so close to death, and one or 2 more autos might have brought him down, she would have been able to turn on the rest of the team, and likely that would have been one team fight for.
Yeah, for sure. And look at BK's
Enigma.
warding. There's a good amount of wards right where they're walking over, actually, in that blue side jungle for Enigma. And
oh, here comes monumental kill. Oninoken almost getting baited into casually stepping on traps, but just out of range for that kill. And Enigma, they've identified the side lane threat and want to pick him off, but also rest too quick.
I'm really looking at Blitz to just sweep those out, because that's kind of dangerous. If BVA pushes Enigma off Baron right into that set of wards, they know exactly where they are at all times. Even they're warded now. It's I would really like to see a sweeper come out, but
yeah,
we'll have to wait and see.
He's getting pretty low there. He's able to lifesteal and get some health back from the honey fruit there. And meanwhile, while this Baron stall is going on, the 5th dragon, the Cloud, is spawning now. Likely neither team will have that as their major priority now, but likely a consolation prize or something to pick up after the end of a fight. So the Elder Dragon will be stalled off for another 6 minutes or so. But both teams posturing around this Baron, and this is going to be the fight. Let's see who's able to control the vision. Crucially, 2 members from Enigma are standing on a ward that they have not known is there. And Bronze actually showed some very sneaky vision into that blue buff side. So Enigma's spots are known. We'll see if they're able to make a play off of it.
Really smart from BVA to trigger the Baron to get some extra damage in. Blitz maybe looking for a hook. Will get the slowdown though. Won't hit it. But with the Ocean Drake, I don't think Enigma's too worried. They're just gonna heal it right up back.
Enigma kind of running back and forth between the entrances to this, and both teams are kind of chasing each other around, neither one of them wanting to make the first big move.
Yeah.
But we saw Enigma looking for it, but not able to quite land the hook. And here comes Monumental Kill again. Doesn't want to walk into too much damage. Ooh, gets taken down to about a 3rd health. And that's that Vel'Koz answering the push with some poke of his own. So we'll see if he chooses to go back and heal. Bronze 5H might use this opportunity to reclaim some of that vision in the river. Olaf, meanwhile, soloing the dragon, and Enigma just can't let these dragons go. But at what cost is Bronze 5H are now into the Baron? Enigma with no vision of this. They're kind of standing off to the side, watching this happen casually. Down to 5,000 health. No chance for the smite steal. Oh, but the damage from the Malefic Visions as they're walking forward has to flash. Oh, but they engage. Psychopez turns it on. We've got a full-on team fight here. All 5 members here. Slicing Maelstrom goes to another 3 members. They stun them all. They're bringing them down. Bronze 5H could win this team fight. Flatfire is taking so much damage, but no carries are left up. That is the Olaf going down at the very end. What can this Mundo do? His Blitzcrank is dead, and Bronze 5H take the fight. Double kill for the Sivir. And that Slicing Maelstrom just propelled them to a huge team fight, likely the Baron after this. Nobody alive left from Enigma to say anything about it.
Wow. And once again, we see the healing come into a play from the Warwick. You see the inventory, the items for Enigma, you do see 2 Grievous Wounds items that will stop the Warwick, but I guess that's just still not enough. Maybe you'd like to see a Morello's come out from Malzahar, and maybe an Executioner's come out of the Olaf too, because you've got to find a way to shut that down, because once again, Warwick just stays alive, and he's just gonna keep getting those cooldowns and keep fearing you and keep healing back up, and so you really got to do something about that if you're Enigma.
Yeah. And even if this candidate isn't built full AP, his ultimate, his ability to stun multiple targets at a time enables Shadow and Sifa so much on these carries. They rely on their raw damage. They don't have much innate CC as carries, but if somebody like Ulster Restip is able to get in there and stun a whole flock of people, this Vel'Koz and Sivir are able to put out so much damage. So Bronze 5 Age with a full-on 5v fight, knock him down, drag him out, Brawl are able to take the first one with the Baron. Now they pressure in for the inhibitor.
Yeah, and like I said at the start, it's up to the Caitlyn to really just put out the damage, because I knew she'd be the biggest threat for damage on Team Enigma. The Malzahar started off slow, picked it really back up, but now maybe falling off a little bit, as Malzahar does do late in game. And the Vel'Koz on the other side for BVA is really looking strong. 8, 2, and 10. Yeah. Really pumping out that damage, as I was looking for at the start of this game, along with the Sivir. Subtle 18 assists, keeping it modest, keeping it low. Yeah. I respect that. No, you don't want too many assists.
Yeah, you don't want to have more than your support. Then what does he feel like he's doing? But Enigma, with that Righteous Glory here on the Blitzcrank, they're looking for something. Not able to find a pick here onto Bronze 5 Age. Does a great job from Enigma. They're able to step outside of their turrets and defend the inhibitor. Bronze 5 Age not too threatening in the siege, but yeah, like you said, we got to get this Caitlyn unloading damage in these team fights. Otherwise, it's going to be bad news bears for Enigma, as they don't have a whole lot of consistent team fight damage threat or ability to avoid the dive from Bronze 5 Age. So this has been so relevant in all these fights.
Yeah, and what I'm looking at, if I'm BVA or if I'm Enigma, I'm looking at the items for BVA. I'm looking at a stopwatch on Warwick, so he's just going to go into stasis if he gets into bad trouble. You've got a Zhonya's on Vel'Koz, he's going to go into stasis. And then you've got a Quicksilver Sash onto the Sivir, which means that any real CC that's not the Blitzcrank pull, we'll just get out of. And
yeah, that's the Malzahar ult QSS tax. We haven't discussed that too much, but ooh, here comes the flash forward. The spell shield, Cephas casually blocking that out, but now has to watch out because oh, they might go in here. There's the QSS. He is able to block that. Now this is all Bronze 5 Age. Oninoka going on the back line. He's able to survive for so long. 1 kill already down. The Warwick does fall, but meanwhile, the carries from Bronze 5 Age are wrecking havoc. Shadow with a triple kill and the triple kill on his debut to Bronze 5 Age's starting position. And Caitlyn heading for the hills as 4 teammates are dead. What can she do to stop this Bronze 5 Age onslaught? They might just close in for the game.
I'm looking at the Caitlyn to maybe defend. She doesn't know she's not being chased. Oh no, oh maybe, there is no Baron buff minions, so if she can wave clear the minions, this is still a possible defense. Only has to go for 20 seconds about, and it looks like BV is actually going to back off here.
Yeah, they're going to call to retreat. The spawn timers were at about 15 seconds when they downed that inhibitor, so definitely not a for sure one-way call. The other Bronze 5 Age opting to play it safe, back out and secure this Elder Dragon. Now, of course, Enigma, who have taken 74 dragons so far this series, don't want to let Bronze 5 Age get anywhere near that, but don't know if they have much say in it. But B5A recalling, they might zoom Vroom out of the space and try and get over there, see if they can secure it.
A death cap onto the Vel'Koz, and that is an insurmountable like big lead for the Vel'Koz. Now onto its 550 ability power.
Ooh. Hook onto Warwick. I'm not sure this is what you want, and yeah,
die.
Monumental is just going to go very low. Here comes Psychopez, but the Malefic Visions along with the Boilings are going to be pushing Bronze 5H out for now. They are going to return to the scene of the crime, though, and all in all, it is now a 5v4 as Blitzcrank is dead. For that was a monster crit. That's the kind of damage you need to see a little bit more of.
Kenan, wait a second.
Yeah, regardless of that, yeah, Bronze 5H are going to be closing and taking this dragon. It's just a little bit too much. Oh, the flasher from the Olaf is not able to secure the steal, and Caitlyn is able to take down the Kenan, so it is a 1-for-1. So likely Bronze 5H not able to end off of this, but they do secure the dragon. Not so much as an advantage for themselves, but so that Enigma do not take it themselves. So
I've never been more excited from auto attacks. Like, Caitlyn is just autoing once, and there's half your HP. Like, it is nuts. If they can keep the Caitlyn alive, they have a chance. And I'm looking. Oh, but the QSS. I really would have liked to see a rapid fire cannon come out. Maybe instead of the Berserker's Greaves once if it goes to full build. Because a rapid fire with the Caitlyn would give her an insane amount of range that could just lower your HP bar by half from an insane distance.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Bronze 5H let him have an endgame as the ultimate for Psychopath signals the engage. They go in. This is bad news for Enigma. They got to retreat. They've already lost one. Latin Fire running away really quickly. Cephas leading the charge with the Sivir on the hunt. Bronze 5H will take that team fight win and go straight to Baron.
Only loses one though, and it is a blitz. Where that pull is extremely useful and important for the team, but they won't lose the game off that play necessarily. Still will have time to defend with this Baron buff, the PVA.
Yeah, I like this from Enigma. They're playing this relatively smart. They're not going to be going in without the Blitzcrank. Remember, we talked about how much he means to this team, being able to set up this kind of pick-off that they excel at. So without him, they're not going to do anything stupid and challenge that Baron down 4v5. So they're just going to reset and hope for a different team fight that they can start off with a pick or something. So Enigma giving themselves a lot of chances to try and come back in this game. But Bronze 5H, man, they're really they're closing things out pretty slowly, but I think they have the items they need to become unstoppable in a 5v5.
Yeah, and this will be interesting to see how far this one gets dragged out, but with the Vel'Koz, if I'm Enigma, and this might be looking a little too hard into, if I'm the Blitz, I want to hook the Vel'Koz, but as Enigma, don't use your abilities. Keep those cooldowns because bait out the stasis. Keep those cooldowns and back off a little until he gets out of stasis, and then use your abilities because you know as soon as you get hooked, he's just going to pop it right away.
Yeah. So Bronze 5H, they are grouped as 5. I think this is one of the first team fights we've seen where there's no split pusher looking to TP flank. Ace is able to step up and clear some of these minions, but just the overwhelming amount of Baron minion damage means that Bronze 5H are able to take that first turret. They're going to try and pressure on the inhibitor, but Enigma definitely not too eager to give that one up so quickly. So they will push Bronze 5H out a little bit, but I think they're just waiting for the next wave to bring in.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see how this defense is gonna go. They do have all right wave clear with the Malzahar and the Caitlyn, but besides that, they might be looking for an engage here.
Malzahar chunked there. Kenan with no Zanyas. He does pop the Slicing Maelstrom, and that is used defensively. So that's actually really good for Enigma. The Ghost Sign is there, but they've already lost their Olaf in the backline. Blitzcrank is taken down as well, but it's a 2-for-0 in favor of Bronze 5H. The Warwick's GA is down, but Psychopez flashes in to defend. Onanoken escapes. Fine. Psychopez may fall to the Malefic Visions, but in the meanwhile, Bronze 5H's carries rain down heck on their opposing forces. Onanoken will die to the turret. You got to keep an eye out for that Malefic Visions, but it does wear off. Bronze 5H secure the ace, and the win for their team. They're going to tie this series up 1-1, and an outstanding fiesta / well thought out, controlled, calculated game means that Bronze 5H are going to bring this thing to 1-1. So now, before we hop into any post-game discussion, the playoffs. The Bronze 5H do secure their first seed. It is worth mentioning here in the standings. And Enigma, an outstanding win against Bronze 5H in Game 1. They're going to go up to 6-2. And unless they drop both games to Stars United, they're likely going to be looking for that second place spot here. So
Yeah.
we've seen good stuff from both these teams. Great game from Enigma in game one, but Bronze 5H rallying around a outstanding team fight composition to be able to take to. Let's take a look at the damage here. So Vel'Koz with 49,733, and Sivir leading the way with over 50,000. That's over 1,000 damage a minute. So these carries from Bronze 5H enabled by this Warwick who just would not die. Is that the theme of the game or what? But
That is the theme of the
yeah,
game. Warwick will never see the gray screen.
yeah, yeah.
Insane.
But yeah, but and that's kind of the same type of play that Enigma used to win game one. Remember the Xin Zhao,
Yeah.
and his ability to stall these fights for so long and just not die due to his ultimate. Well, Bronze 5H pulled out the same card and used this Warwick to enable his carries. So with that, we close out the series at a 1-1, an awesome one to cast, and definitely my first one of the split and your first one as well. So fun stuff. We almost got to see a second Bronze 5H jungler pentakill the split. I don't know if you were around here for season 0, I believe it was,
No.
but Bronze 5H's jungler at that time was Alston Restep, and he actually picked up a pentakill on Skarner. So kind
On
of
Scar.
odd. Yeah, kind of odd to see nearly a second Bronze 5H jungler pentakill. That just feels weird saying that, but we almost saw that one again. So, but very entertaining series. Let's see if we can get somebody in here to break these games down for us on a player perspective.
When I think of Skarner, I think of Pentakill. I don't know about you.
Yeah, dude, same. It just seems very normal. Ooh, there's a separate channel. Alrighty, so we got Ken from Bronze 5H moving up to the jungle for this season. He's joining us with an interview after Bronze 5H's 1-1 comeback, and it feels like we ought to get an interview member from the other team as well, since it was a 1-1. Sounds like you got to go, Ansem. Or no, wait, do we alternate? Let's alternate it first. So, Ken, you played jungle before, right? In competitive, this wasn't a completely new role swap for you this season?
Yeah, I've got a lot more competitive jungle experience under my belt than I do ADC.
Gotcha. Okay, so is Vi really your most comfortable champion, or is there a reason they banned it as their only ban first round, like no questions asked?
Xin Zhao has a hard time dealing with Vi.
Okay.
She's a strong early game countered him, and she just has super strong engage. You know, we've had some success with her. You know, she brings a ton of CC to the table. And she can get all the way through a team and lock somebody down, take damage out of the fight long enough time for the balance of the team fight to go in your favor. So, I mean, I get it.
Yeah. What were you guys? Sorry, go ahead.
The other thing about Vi is any jungler that allows you to be super active early is really important right now. Mm-hmm. So again, another reason why, you know, I could see where a Vi ban come up.
Yeah. What were you guys' thoughts after the game one loss to Enigma? It seemed like you guys were trying to make these plays on a coordinated basis. I especially Cyanide, and I especially remember the Baron play where you were looking to flank in from the Amumu. We had Psychopez looking to engage on the Alistar, and then possibly a TP from the Dr. Mundo. Seemed like there were some plays that were really close to executing, but either they were stopped by Xin Zhao or by the execution not being perfectly timely. What were your thoughts after that game one loss to Enigma?
Mostly need more damage.
Okay.
Just death's the ultimate debuff. And,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, there was, thinking back to game one, there were a couple plays where, you know, no plan survives contact with the enemy. You know, hats off to Enigma. They were able to execute second to second a little better than we were. And two, we just couldn't get him off the map. So
yeah. Was the Warwick pick something you had practiced in a certain team composition, or is that something you thought would fit well into that specific game, or is that a practice pick? Tell me about your thought picking that champion, because we really didn't see that one coming.
Warwick brings a few things to the table. One, he's a good early game duelist. With his fear, he can win the 1v1 at Scuttle. He can win, on an invade. His W lets you see if anybody's coming. He's got a lot of tools to do stuff early. He doesn't get super low in the jungle. As far as me and my comfort, I mean, I think he was my second Mastery 7 champion. So he brings a lot of tools. He gives you a lot of buttons. He can peel. He can engage. So that's why, and mostly it was in case we had to deal with Zinjag, and he brings just a bit more damage to the fights than just pure tank.
Cyanides and I nicknamed the theme of that game "Warwick Just Won't Die." That was game 2, because there were so many instances where you were barely able to survive and outlast the team fight, which could have been a turning point in Enigma. But
yeah, I'm buying a new Q button for my keyboard.
I used to be
broken.
I used to be a Casio main, so I wore out a few E buttons. So that's something I can definitely understand. But last question from me: how have the role swaps been for you guys? You mentioned that. I remember you guys more from previous iterations of Bronze 5H, but you mentioned that you are very comfortable going back to the jungle. How about the other guys? We saw Cephas as a top laner for a couple of seasons, and then Alston as a jungler. So was that something that you guys are you going back to positions that you know better, or from positions that you know better? Tell me how that has made you guys perform as a team, and what your individual opinions were on those role swaps.
Well, we've been in, Alston's played jungle for a long time. Q's been our mid laner for a long time. And, a few people just wanted to try something different just to kind of break up, let's see what the other side of the map looks like, and things like that. And it was, it was going to be a little bit of a challenge, and then we got a division and challenge, but it's worked out pretty well. We've got some good practice in. I think the person who's most out of his comfort zone is probably Psychopez, because but no, it's worked out pretty well. I mean, obviously there's some growing pains with that, but the novelty has made practicing a lot easier. Like, everybody's has a lot more enthusiasm to get on and play, because a lot of people are doing new things. And I personally like it, because when I play ADC, like, I literally have to get 2 or 3 games a day in every day just to keep my edge with that position, and that can get exhausting. So no, it's working out well for us. I have no idea what we'll do next season. Who will get voted off the island? Will Psychopez get yet another ADC? We don't know. We'll find out.
As long as you guys keep Shadow out of the mid lane, he would seem to be nothing but trouble for you guys. So it can only go up from here, if you guys are able to keep him from substituting as much as possible. Any other questions from you guys, from the rest of my casting crew?
I just had one comment question. Were you guys shocked at all by the Vayne top pick in the first game?
Were we? You know what? I'll be perfectly honest. I mute comms during pick bans, so I have no idea.
Okay.
Strats that everybody ever playing League with their team should abide by, of course. Noxian, one of a kind. Well, congratulations to you guys. Have secured first place with this game. We'll be going to the playoffs, playing the 4th seed. So pretty happy about that. And unique double elimination playoffs. So best of luck in that. And thanks for joining us, Ken.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, let's get somebody from Enigma. I definitely ought to try that one. I wonder if it will bring me success, like a Bronze 5H success.
They're winning games, though. Clearly, it works.
Yeah.
Try that.
Yeah, or maybe he never had any control over the draft anyways, and he didn't like people telling him what to do, so he just, if I can't hear them, then they can't hear me.
Ben Warwick, what do you mean, dude? I don't die.
Yeah. That team has been together and has kind of been a staple in our communities and moved on because people talk about those guys a lot. They're the old fellers of our community. Yeah, them and washed up one tricks in the Ionic division, but we have some faves from back in the day. So it's teams like that have stuck together through many seasons of whatever this league, whatever next league we move on to. But yeah. All right, we are joined by Ultimate Ace, the coach from Team Enigma. Congratulations for being the first team to take a game off of Bronze 5 Age. And no doubt getting a little revenge at your former teammate, Karen, who used to be on Bronze 5 Age. That was a bit of a stretch. But tell me about the composition going into game one, because I had a little chat with Cyanide about you guys as a team, Enigma, and he said that your strength not necessarily lies in always being able to pull out these random and crazy things, but your adaptability during draft. And so tell me about that Vayne pick. Is that something that Hayari has volunteered, or what were the comms like in whipping that counter pick up to go after the Mundo?
So we originally had somewhat of an idea going into game one, because I know I'm really good friends with pretty much everybody on Bronze Age 5. Congrats to them on game two, and definitely a great match on game one and game two. And so we kind of saw them as being a very good team-oriented style, that they focus a lot on either heavy engage or team, or they focus a lot on a more focusing on team fighting. And so our concept was, okay, if we're going to go ahead and go with a comp of some sorts, then we probably shouldn't play them where we're playing against their strengths. So we thought, let's try going a more skirmishing type, where we don't necessarily have to coordinate so many ults together, or so they're so reliant on each other working, that we'd rather just try to focus on focusing more on the warding and trying to focus a little bit more on the skirmishing. And as far as the Vayne pick, originally when we were picking our 80 carry, we kind of randomly chose Misfortune by accident, and we thought, you know what, screw it, we'll go ahead and go with MF, because originally my thought process was, well, I would imagine most of these teams haven't gone up against MF, so they're not too familiar where MF's strengths lie in conjunction with playing like with a Blitzcrank. And so we thought, okay, and when we were still deciding our top side, we kind of noticed that they were running 2 to 3, relatively tanky champions. So we thought, you know what, well, maybe we can consider the Vayne. Personally, for me, I'm not too keen on Vayne top, just because I've had really bad experiences on team, especially like in solo queue and stuff. But Hayaris definitely was asking to play Vayne. He really wanted to play it. So I decided to say, you know what, screw it. I mean, let's give it a shot. So the more of the concept was, let's go ahead and give him Vayne, because I have seen him play Vayne a couple times, and he does, fairly well. But my concern was that in a more team setting versus a solo queue, it's definitely a different environment. Because what we did notice is that with Bronze Age 5, they're definitely very good at warding. They're definitely very good at clearing up the vision and putting a lot of wards in objectives and trying to get all that objective control. So, but as far as the Vayne pick, it wasn't a decisive one. It was kind of more that top laner wanted to play it, so we went ahead and let him play it.
Yeah. And Cyanide and I were talking about this a little bit. It wasn't necessarily all the Vayne that won that game. It was a
exactly
with the Blitzcrank MF creating leads in the bot lane, and then your jungler playing really well off of that on the Xin Zhao. And we had a lot of praise to say about the Xin Zhao. I think the thing we noticed in both games was how well you guys executed on what appeared to be a pick comp. Like we were talking, okay, theory crafting here, the Blitzcrank hooks, the Malzahar suppress, and like we saw that kind of thing in both games 1 and 2. Is a pick composition something you guys identify as one of the key strengths for your team, or is this type of composition, you said you would want to play a more skirmishy against Bronze 5 Age, is this type of pick vision control / pick composition something you play against any team? Is that like one of your strong areas, or is this specifically a Bronze 5 Age reaction style?
To us, it's kind of both. When working with this team, I've noticed that they tend to flock more towards skirmishing and trying to establish control early game whenever they can if the opportunity presents themselves. And with Bronze Age 5, we kind of thought, or as we were theory crafting, we thought this would probably be the best route for us. Not so much trying to go the same style as them, because we thought, well, if we try playing the same style as them, it's going to be a lot harder to execute because they probably have had much more practice than us, and the fact that they tend to be fully together as a unit versus our team here, who have kind of barely just known each other this season. So we thought trying to come up with a team comp that focuses on team fighting probably might be a little bit harder for a team that, or individuals that haven't really played with each other very often. So we decided, let's go ahead and stick with skirmishing. And then as we get better, or as a team starts to get a little bit more comfortable with the picks that they're going, then maybe we can try delving into different strategies that might work for our teams, which is why the champ pool with most of the individuals on our team, it's actually a lot more obscure. They actually play pretty interesting champions in their different roles. So it's definitely, I would like to think it gives us a little bit of a strength, because we do play, as you can see, we don't play the conventional type style, and it works. And like I said, it definitely shows us where our strengths really rely on so much on the skirmishing, and therefore we want to try to see if we can maybe amplify that even more in the coming weeks.
Build from there. The adaptability that you guys showed in the draft and in you guys' champion pools kind of gives way to a lot of different styles you guys can run. So obviously it does. You guys, more than any other team, wouldn't be bound to one kind of play style, which is definitely an advantage going into a double LAN playoffs where there are just multiple series of multiple games. So
exactly,
that's kind of awesome to hear. My last question for you: tell me about being a coach in this league, because we haven't seen too many like a formal coaches that give their time to develop a team like this in a league such as ours. And so just share one or two thoughts about your approach to coaching a team like this, just in case more people want to try this out from both sides.
So what I really get out of coaching is when I started maybe back in season 4, season 5, and I was probably the typical person who tried to get to level 30, and as soon as you hit level 30, go straight into rank instead of playing norms and actually learning the game, you know. And so I remember I actually had a coach back in season 6, an individual coach who focused a lot on helping me to actually get better with the game and understanding micro and macro, and that's how I was able to jump up into the ladder pretty decently, I think. And so for me, my strengths definitely rely on trying to better each individual, where to me, if we get a win on a particular match, that's great, but that's not really what I'm looking for. I'm definitely looking more towards trying to get individuals better and understanding the game for what it is, only because the game is ever evolving. And to me, somebody who is a good example would be like somebody who is a diamond player or a grandmaster tier, maybe just be good at micro, but they're not really good at macro. And so they're only able to get up to a certain rank, and they're only good on one particular champion, which isn't a bad thing. But if they're trying to actually get better at the game and actually understand the intricacies that are involved with, you know, Summoner's Rift and all that stuff, usually it's better to try to get everything that you can with understanding each of the lanes, which is something that I try to focus with my team. Is not that, let's say if you're deciding to focus on a lane that you want to get better at, try to understand, okay, what does a support player do? What does a jungle player do? What are the main strengths of a mid laner? Trying to understand what each of the other roles do, so that way when you're playing a different role, you can understand, okay, the enemy mid laner is probably going to try to do this because that's what I would do. And one thing that I definitely try to avoid is definitely putting down my teammates, especially if you notice that they do, you know, interesting plays that you probably wouldn't have done yourself. I try to give the you know, the criticism, but I also give, you know, the compliment with it, where, you know, I definitely noticed that you guys messed up on this part, but the approach on this was really, really good. Because if you keep bashing out your teammates, and your teammates are not really going to like you as a coach, and they're probably not going to listen to you either. So what I do try to do is that we definitely try to understand where everybody has come from, but that everybody's opinion, and regardless of what role you play, whether it's top lane or support, your opinion actually matters. And so that's where my philosophy comes from.
The beatings will continue until morale approves. Sure, that's
exactly.
So well said. Insanely well said.
Any questions from you, Cyanide? That was
I just have one.
Sure.
You guys absolutely did amazing in terms of like map pressure, and so you guys got like every dragon in the series. Like I think, like was that like a game plan? Like, have you guys like been practicing that? Like how to like get map pressure and priorities from your lanes to get those collective objectives, because you guys did really good in the tower department and the dragon department.
Yes, most definitely. One of the things that I tried telling my teammates, or I guess the players in this situation, was that depending on the flow of the map, depending on where the jungler is, or depending on where your strengths or where the lanes are being pushed in, one thing that I tried to instill in them is that if something is happening in one side of the map, try to make something happen in the other map. Try to foresee what you think is going to happen in 30 to 40 seconds, only because, as I'm pretty sure you guys have known, when you base and let's say you get to blue buff on your side, it usually takes about 20 to 25 seconds to get there. So if you know that that's the length in which most champions can get there, you can extend your thought process by an extra 10 to 15 seconds and understand, okay, if we see that they're attacking Rift Herald in this instance, so we know that the jungler is there, we know top side is still on his side, then we know that we can try making a play coming in towards dragon. Or if let's say the dragon's going to come up in the next a minute, we definitely try to instill the idea that you need to put vision around dragon at least a minute ahead. And the reason is because if you put vision at around 20 seconds, that doesn't do you any good, because you already know it's going to pop up and you have to assume the enemy team's already going to be there. So what we try to do is try to look into the future as to what the enemy team is going to do and try to figure out where their strengths lie and try to exploit whatever weaknesses that they may have.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, looks like I don't need to buy a coach anymore.
and it's actually pretty cool because as you guys have known, I played in the last season.
Yep.
In the what division did we play in again?
Shurima.
There we go, Shurima. And so in that one is playing as a player and having, the captain, Karen Franz being the captain. It's definitely has shown me what it's like to be an actual player and have a voice within the team.
Yeah.
And so it definitely helps with the coaching aspect because I can understand where the players are coming from, where they may not necessarily agree with a concept, but it's definitely something that we can try to understand. Because my thing is that I don't want to instill what my philosophies on the game are to all of my teammates or to all of my players, but I'd rather have them formulate what it means to play the game, or how do you want to play and how does it mesh well with the team that you're with. Because as you guys have seen in our team with Mycroft and Karen Franz, I'm pretty sure you guys have noticed that our team is very very wacky, especially when it comes to our team fighting and some of the reasonings that we do. So I definitely try to instill that, that humorous side, but also the intelligent side with it. Like, oh, maybe I wouldn't have thought of that, or trying to actually make that into fruition with the team that I'm currently coaching.
Mm-hmm. Awesome stuff. Well, that's all the questions I had for you, and I think Cyanide as well. So thanks, Ultimates, for joining us, and congratulations for taking game off Bronze 5H. Good luck in your next week match. Really could get anywhere between second and fourth, so hoping for higher seed going into playoffs for you guys.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thank you for having me.
Yep. Alrighty, well, that's it. So from your broadcasters, I am Freaked. Thank you to my co-caster Kobe and our producer Riv. Thank you to you guys for joining us for the cast. And I think that'll be all for tonight. In the meantime, play more League.